Hi everyone, Temporal here, and for this session we are going to be reviewing the Shanghai Dragons versus the Hangzhou Spark match that happened just a little earlier today. We're going to be taking a look at that, seeing what happened, what they play, how they play it, really what we can get here. If you guys do enjoy this type of content, please do let me know. Comments help with that, but liking and subscribing is really the key way to get me to do more of this. Or if you are looking to get coaching, you can do that through my Discord in the description below, see rates, all that good stuff. Let's turn up our quality just a little bit here. Yeah, we're going to need you to be a little bit nicer. Okay. So, we're coming out here with our comps. Are we actually keeping the sim? We are actually keeping the sim. So we're coming out here with our comps. The difference that we're seeing immediately is that these are both brawl comps, but one is running the sim while the other is running the McCree. Very common to see the sim here. This should not be news at all. The only slightly interesting piece is that the Dragons went main rather than going directly 2-point with their sim. But that's fine. They've likely decided that, hey, teams have figured that out. Teams know what to do about that. We're going to surprise them. We think we can get here quick enough, throw these turrets up here like they did. Perfectly fine. And Dragons were able to get map control with that. They might not get the full cap, but they are able to do that. And why is the wall there? Why do Sumuzu throw a wall up there? That's like a wall to block your own team from completing their rotation? Was he just trying to get back? That's a pink wall. Huh. I mean, the wall on the other side, that's reasonable enough. That's a surprising wall that we see to open there. They're able to get lip. I wish we could see where. Always tough to do this without the replay viewer, but that's what happens when we're viewing matches on the weekend. So we saw that. That's a reasonable fire strike. Yeah, we don't know what's going on there. Okay. First through the point, and now this is going to be very hard for them. Their turrets aren't set up here. The turrets were set up over by the other entrance, and their sim is down, so they won't be resetting them up. They're obviously down a person. Why is that our wall? I still don't understand. That looks like a pink wall, not a white wall to me, so I don't understand why both of these walls look pink. So I guess this is... Okay, maybe we're just mixing up our wall colors. Like, this is going to be super confusing if they've decided that based on wall colors, this here is actually Shanghai Dragon's wall. Like, that is going to be a pain to keep track of. Okay, that explains one mystery, though. I don't know why you thought that was going to work. Shy? Yeah, I don't know why you expected that to work. He could have just kept fanning him from here. Pressuring Flooded, get out the ice block. Now they're going to make Void leave. That shouldn't be hard. Yeah, I mean, the advantage was too big. Could we please look at that shift? You're at full health. Void is really the only one missing health. Huh. Okay, let's see how this flipped a little, though. So we had this. At this point in the fight, we are looking at Spark are up. They really should not be able to lose this at this point. It's a pretty massive advantage. The wall split happens, and the wall split goes in the Dragon's favor, and that equalizes health a little, makes this more dangerous, sure. Flash just gets absolutely wasted. Lamp comes out, but Lamp is out for both teams. Lamp, the Sparks Lamp is gone. So the Sparks Lamp got dealt with first, even though the Spark have an extra player on the field. So that's not great. Ansi-Misu is going to have to ice block right now, so his ice block gets forced first. Other lamp goes down. This is correct to make Void leave, but how's our front line doing as this is happening? Our front line is squished. So as we can see here, even though they're correctly doing the things of, hey, we're going to make your diva leave, and next they'll go and they'll get the ice block out. The gauntlet has been run on them faster. They've had their ice block forced already. Their tanks are already at low health. Both lamps are already out. Like, they are a little bit behind, even though they have the extra person up there. So this is, hey, really, they had the Mei wall. They had the better Mei wall for Shanghai Dragons here. Second Mei wall. Second Mei wall was the one that went here. Better second Mei wall. And they were able to get that ice block out first. And even in this fight where they were behind a person, they're out driving. So that's great. This isn't a major mistake that we're seeing from Spark, except that I don't know why our Rhine is getting rolled quite this hard. Because the Diva's controlled. Like, we see this. The wall is gone. Where's our BAP? Where is MCD? I don't see Guex's health going up at all. I don't see Guex's health going up at all. I don't see Guex's health going up at all. Now, my guess is that because of where we saw Void, that this was a case of Void and maybe Li Jaegon were freezing. That's sometimes what I call it. MCD, they were putting pressure on him. But I didn't really see his... Okay, his health is moving. Yeah, those two are freezing him out. So we can tell that's what's happening. Or maybe not those two. Maybe it's just Void. But he is in some way being pressured, being frozen out. So he's struggling to pay the attention to Guexe to heal him. He's worried about protecting himself. So there's some sort of pressure being put on MCD right now. And that's allowing the frontline differential. And Izaki, that tends to happen when your team is getting pushed a little. You get your window. Windows came up about the same time, but you'll notice that one comes up first. And now they've got control here as the Dragons, even though they lost their sim first. So the lamp gets used there. Spark just getting cleaned up, no big deal. Oh, are the frames that bad? Okay, if the frames are that bad, let me try and turn this down a little and see if that helps the frames. Tell me if that makes things a little bit better.
Build up towards some of these ultimates. Izayaki already at 65% for the next Amp Matrix. Nearly at 6 though for the side of the Hangzhou Sparks. Let's see if they can utilize some of these. Oh, we do have that sim barrier come out from Lip to try and get a flip on the point. Shatter.
Okay, Shatter comes out. I'm not really a fan of this Shatter. I'm not really a fan of this Shatter for a couple reasons. Like, yes, you have the chance of surprising them, and the good news is that he's called this play, and you can tell he's called this play because his teammates are already grouped behind him, we can see, and ready to come through the wind and ready to charge right through the door with him to follow up on this Shatter. Thank you, Nard. So that is good. And there may have even been a wall that went up behind these guys. But the Shatter didn't ultimately get value, which means now they've given up their position, which is fine. You risked yourself on, hey, we're going to go do this play, and when this play doesn't work out, yes, you don't have positioning. Not too wild. So this is mostly a case of the Dragons went for a play. They went for a somewhat risky play. That's not the strongest play. It's a play that you can throw as an off-speed pitch, but it's not the strongest play what they did to try to aggress into there with their Shatter. And when it didn't work out, they're effectively getting punished. Now, they're able to retreat into better positioning, but they don't get to start with that good positioning because they'd forced themselves forward.
Take out Gushue, but then he falls in it. That's going to be good enough here for the Spark. There are a couple ults at the port. Everything sticks, and now they get the point flip getting ready to come through.
I think Shanghai knew they were down ultimates there as well. Their only real shot was to try and catch the Spark off guard, and maybe a Shatter coming through from Fate that Spark are not ready for. Just a little bit of scouting. Great block coming through from
Let's see how our Spark's set up in terms of their map positioning, and let's see what our Shanghai approach looks like. Shanghai approach is more going to be through kitchen here. They're going to change their mind and go main. Okay. They are now still running that sim, and they have the sim wall. So that sim wall is going to be pretty powerful to retake through. And if you look at what Spark have, they've only really got their self-destruct and their beat. So those are pretty solid ults, but it's not the ult bank that we have on the other side. We've got 4 ults for the Shanghai Dragons, and it's not like the next ult is close for the Spark. That said, no Mei ults probably makes the sim wall the most powerful ult on the board right now. Yes, beats are really powerful, but they've both got beat. Throw up that wall. Okay, so now we've got 2 walls up. We've got a sim wall and an ice wall. And do they get walled out? They don't get walled out. Why don't they get walled out here? So here they are. Mei is on point. So Siomesu should have a wall up and doesn't. And that there's not a wall up is very weird to me. There's the wall. Okay, so they tried to do like a total turtle wall. A complete turtle wall as opposed to a wall to sort of keep them off the point or keep most of them off the point. They went for like a total closer to themselves turtle wall here, which they're going to try to go around. They're going to try to break. That's not great if they do their total turtle wall while Bernard is going for the back here. So that's a miscommunication. If this had been a bit of a split wall, maybe, but it's a bit of a miscommunication to have Bernard going in for a deeper, I'm going to work on your backline play while you've done a complete turtle wall, a complete delay wall, not an aggressive split wall. Walls, lamps, turrets, windows, walls again. How many things can we build on the point, right?
Around the back, does have that self-destruct. He's going to throw out.
I think we need some I think we need some Torb turrets, personally.
Nice flank comes around the side.
Maybe some Junkrat traps.
Matrix now not really going to be utilized, at least not for heals.
Maybe drop a Winston bubble in there. Okay, they're both going for that. Okay, so I'd like to see a little bit more of what happened there. Let's see if we get a good view, because this happened. We see this comes out. We see heavy ult investment from the Dragons. Heavy ult investment from the Dragons. And then we also see that Sparks, Mei has gone low here, and their D.Va is getting forced out pretty hard. So this fight should be leaning in the Dragon's direction, and then they've also got the lamp out from Spark as well. So this should be going pretty hard in the Dragon's direction, unless we can re-engage with ults and get a lot of value out of that. Except that it looks like in all of this, Shy, somewhere here, was able to loop around. So that's what the play was. Their play was, sometimes you'll see that it'll be the D.Va and the Lucio, sometimes you'll see it'll be the D.Va and the McCree. And the D.Va had come around here and done the work, and drew a lot of attention doing all that, trying to get out, etc. And then, you know, even though it looked like, hey, Bernard is kind of feeding, is having to use mech to remech here, most likely, that was enough distraction for Shy to be coming around this other side and get the pick off on Izayaki. So they weathered it well. This was a turtle. This was a turtle that looked like it should have meant their D.Va was feeding, but the D.Va was actually, we'll say, the distraction for the McCree to do the work. Works out nicely. Echo sim, get another sim wall. Okay, now he's looping back to his side, and they have real shots now because they got rid of Izaki, and the sim wall is over. The Mei walls, second Mei wall comes up. Second Mei wall on both sides come up. And Spark were able to turn that because then they take out people while Izaki isn't there to heal them. Good stuff. I'm a little surprised that we didn't get a flash here. Like, yes, Void has the ability to eat your flash, but you can hit that. You can hit that flash. And you're not going to be punished for using that slash. Oh. Okay. Does Void actually get away? That's critical if Void gets away. And Izaki goes down again. Okay. So, ultimately not the end of the world that they didn't get Void there because that found Izayaki elsewhere.
And now as we start moving forward, you know, more ultimates for the Hangzhou Spark, looking towards that Blizzard. Definitely caught up now as far as percentage goes in the actual cap itself. Hangzhou Spark, decent bounce back. I mean, they lost that first fight, but since then, Spin all Hangzhou all day. Show the Deadeye. Open up with that one.
I want to see your shift.
But since then, spin all Hangzhou all day. Show the Deadeye. Open up.
No. Like, yes, you'd taken damage. You'd taken a little bit of damage. Okay, I'm going to deal. You're going to get pushed again. Like, if you keep doing this, you're going to get pushed repeatedly by the combination of this, mostly pick 2, but some combination of these 3 are repeatedly going to make you unhappy. At this moment, you look like a bit of a weak link, but we'll see. We'll see. Trying to do a bit of a spread, trying to do a bit of poke, ultimately drop here. I don't necessarily love this because you can see Fate dropped on the other side, and to me it's no big shock that Fate dropped on the other side, but now it means the team is split. So on the one hand, if Fate gets this shatter off, it's huge. On the other hand, it's way easy to hit a Mei wall right now to split Fate from his team. Like, way easy. And he hit the shatter, so it's huge. So they were a credible enough distraction. I don't think they should have been a credible enough distraction. I think Fate should have been heard, and this should have never worked. And I honestly think that what should have happened is Shimizu should have just thrown a wall up to block the side of point, or even to block the side of point above, while Spark just destroyed Fate. But hey. He's not able to get clean up. Lamp comes out to try to keep him alive. Lamp immediately gets destroyed. Both lamps immediately get destroyed. Now our walls are up as per standard. Oh, Iyazaki is first picked again, and Iyazaki is picked by the D.Va. This is going to be a theme, we can see. And D.Va just came around the outside to do it again. So, Shanghai is going to have to make adjustments. I mean, they may have won the fight, but here we are. Iyazaki goes down. That's ultimately the blizzard that got him, but D.Va was going to regardless. But they were able, it looks like, to get Guexei there, and then because we have both blizzards effectively going, this gets messy. Don't really care anymore. Okay, that's fine. Looks like Dragons are ultimately going to flip it. The cooldowns had to manually reload there.
Really, for Flitter as well, Flitter goes into the full cryo freeze there to dodge out. Blizzard has the counter Blizzard ready to go, but is very trusting in his team to stay alive. Importantly, Lip didn't go down there. Lip must have got himself out of that Blizzard come through from Sominsu. So with Flitter dropping down his own Blizzard, Lip getting the damage in.
They're going to try to force this.
Fade around the corner again. Shatters available. This is going to be final fight territory, 80% plus on the side of the Shanghai Dragons. Importantly, that window is available for Iyazaki. They need to use this sooner rather than later.
Dropping down, looking for this.
Do you have to hold that long? Obviously, there's, hey, we hit the Mei wall. That's no big surprise there. That you hit the Mei wall is a little bit dicey because it means now they can block you with a Mei wall, and they know that you can't raise your McCree over a Mei wall that you throw in front of your McCree, in front of their McCree, so that has some cost. Here you are. You're waiting for the lamp to get destroyed. You pull it. Okay, fine. It's fine. They'll touch in time.
98%. They do manage to tap in. Force out overtime as the sound barrier comes in from Lee J. Gone, topping up Lip, keeping him in the fight. Tracks down IDK on the wall. That's going to be the sound barrier now removed before he can get it online. At 99%, it seems like that might be as good as it gets here for
they had the better initiation with the high noon. They got too much value out of it. No big surprise there.
The Shanghai Dragons will be able to take Village, but it's damn close between
Cool. So let's see how this keeps going. We want to pay attention, see if Iyazaki keeps getting picked on by Bernard plus friends. We're also going to want to see, does Fate stay quite as aggressive with his shatters, because he's gone for a couple of those, and one he got, the other just got completely thrown and his team lost the fight over.
I think Lip probably overstayed on the Symmetra, if anything, in the early fights. I didn't think you'd really want to be on Symmetra for that neutral, but there it was, and now it goes. No team wants
Okay, different opening rotations.
Exact even mirror on both ends.
Shy is late because he was on the sim.
Across the board. With the May and McCree around in their positions. Otherwise, you got it. Gushway taking a ton of damage as he approaches the point. So is Void on the other side. Summon Su, however, they're going to be the first one to fall.
Mm-hmm.
Coming up from Lee Jae-gon, getting that kill. Looks to follow up onto the Baby Diva, but Lip will sniper out of the air. And it's going to be a very clean first fight win.
Okay.
Summon
Can we see enough of this? Here we are.
Yep. Just across the board. With the May and McCree around in their position.
Looks like that wall comes out. So hard to tell whose wall that is.
Otherwise, you got it. Gushway taking a ton of damage as he approaches the point.
And they're able to stun eliminate Shimezu with the flashbang before the ice block goes off, and that should be big. Yeah, and then it's over. Okay, so they caught Shimezu with the flashbang.
And that's Soma Sutra's dying. What did he die to? Lee Jae-gon somehow. That's another very early neutral being won. So Cap, Shanghai looking at ultimates. Last time Shanghai actually got ultimates before they won that neutral, and you start to see Izuyaki drop down a window way before MCD. That's actually going to happen again. Izuyaki on 80, MCD on 42. So
Yeah, that's pretty standard for BAPS. If you lose the fight and you just don't get overwhelmed, so they almost got overwhelmed, you tend to have the first window. Or if you're losing the fight, if the fight goes long.
Pretty heavily by Shanghai. Spark know it, and they have to rotate through main instead.
Go ahead.
You're spending amp on that? Why?
And they have to rotate through main instead.
You're fine. You don't need to spend amp on this. You don't care if they throw up a wall. They're too far away. You do not need to use amp for this. And now you're not going to have an amp for a good 8 seconds. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Build up where that shatter. Even as they try. Would love to take some swings and they're trying to build up for that shatter. Even as they try.
Yeah, I mean, you're taking the damage to justify it. Okay.
Continue to aggress. They do have this amp matrix that can be used. Izuyaki still going to be holding onto it as Lip.
It's not the best time in.
Something with that Deadeye doesn't manage to find anybody, but IDK does get picked off. Bernard getting beaten and battered will get knocked out of the mech. So Minsu taken down again before he can use this blizzard. And it's just going to be
good.
Further additional staggers here.
Fine.
On the back
It's clean up phase.
Izuyaki tries to get another amp matrix online.
I thought maybe it was going to be amp matrix. Amp matrix from Izuyaki first. Ends up being the Deadeye coming through first as well. And this is off the back of, I believe, IDK dying, so no speed for the engage or the disengage. MCD eventually does have an amp matrix, but the team is dead. 66% and counting up. 2/3 done for the Shanghai Dragon. Spark will be able to come back in with the ultimates finally. There is going to be that one Deadeye advantage. Plus the amp matrix, I say, but he's going to...
Don't shoot your amp out here. Don't you dare.
Very quickly. This needs to be a fast fight. Deadeye straight away from Shy.
Mm-hmm. There's your amp for that. How much time did you have left?
Be a fast fight. Deadeye straight away from Shy.
Speed boost to try to move shot.
You had a good 2.5 seconds left there. You didn't need to pull that yet.
Point just a little bit faster, but he's not going to be able to find anything with that. Now the wall coming up, trying to lock him in, and he's trying to.
You're trying to break this to get your window back? It's a pretty heavy investment for a wall that wasn't actually stopping you. Was just stopping your window access. Yeah, that was pretty dominant.
Throws out the self-destruct, but won't be able to find anything. Punch to the back of the skull, finishes him off, and it's looking like this is going to be 100-0.
Okay, that was pretty dominant. We saw the amp that was really questionable for the rotation from IDK. We saw Shimizu absolutely get caught by a flashbang with, I believe, ice block left that shouldn't have happened. And, you know, a couple fights is all it takes to snowball Koth. Koth is very short game mode when it comes to, well, a round of Koth is very short. Okay, let's jump on here. See how things go. Volskaya. I like seeing some Volskaya. You get to see some different comps. Much more poke heavy than much of the map pool. Okay, so if these are the comps that they're actually going to run, we'll talk. Okay, so they're making an adjustment. Is this going to be real? Can I please see the defenders? Can I please see the defenders? Okay, so we have Fate out here on ball. I'll be curious to see how Fate's ball plays. I remember Fate's ball was sort of an early standout when the hero was just released. I'll be curious if it's kept up as a good one or if it's regressed to the mean here. But for our defending team, we are effectively running the late 2020 hybrid comp, the old ball sigma comp that is a poke dive comp with mercy instead of a brig, and with the ash in that slot, sometimes an ash, sometimes an echo, etc. So nothing too wild here. You wouldn't necessarily always run the tracer. You can actually, on this point in particular, really get away with justifying the double poke. Even if you are worried that, oh, the team is going to swap to dive, that's a big deal. The high ground is so strong around this point. The ability of the three high grounds to cover for each other makes them so strong. Like, the ability to rotate between these two high grounds is pretty strong. The long open sight lines, for the most part, really makes this a map that you can afford to run the double poke on. So I'm a little surprised that we're not seeing Fleta on maybe a Echo, maybe a Hangzhou, something with a little more poke than the Tracer. Tracer's not a bad pick by any means. It's more standard for this comp. I'm just a little surprised. I'm not a little surprised. I wouldn't at all be surprised to see the other. These guys, you pretty much do need. You can't run full poke back at them. The high ground is too strong, so I'm not at all surprised to see the Tracer over here. Here, we're really running something that's closer. We're really running a double bubble over here, so more of a dive brawl hybrid with a single poke aspect, which that's okay. That's okay. You're going to run the Ash. You don't want to run an Echo. You could run a Sombra, but that makes sense. We're going like that. You need this. You need something to help your backline rotate a little bit. Strong enough backline. Tracer plus Monkey being supported by bubbles by this backline, etc., should be able to allow this backline to get the rotations through. So this backline, I don't expect this to have too much trouble rotating, especially because there's a Tracer over here, not something to add a little bit more pressure. Cool. Is Shanghai good now? It was fun to go for them when they were worst team in professional sports, but I heard they won a match since then. I don't know if they're good now. We're doing some analysis. We're gonna see. Mm-hmm.
So double bubble coming through from the Spark, and it will be the Sigma ball coming through from the side of the Shanghai
Great.
Dragons.
They're going to try to force their way through. It's okay if they want to use a Winston bubble to rotate here. Like, it is important to get their backline in. And whether they have their Winston jump in with a Zarya bubble on something close to distract it to help their backline rotate, or whether they just use their Winston bubble to rotate through here, either's going to be fine. Okay, so they elect for this one, which does get their Zarya more charge, and the backline needs to rotate, which looks a little slow to me, and that can't happen. The point is to get your backline in more, Spark, to actually get your backline rotated up when your Monkey creates some space for you, creates a little bit of a credible threat. You don't want to try to take the fight from the choke. And now you guys are like late trying to force your way up the side. You needed to be taking that side space when your Monkey went in, and you needed to not lose your Monkey.
Good initial start to the hold here for the Shanghai Dragons. Lee Jae gone nearly with the Valkyrie online. As MCD gets dosed there.
Let's see if they can do a better engage this time.
Will get top back up.
Yuzaki, by the way, I believe first in damage as in Yada.
Don't get chunked, Quixie.
Very dangerous Yada player. And now as we start
The jump you did the first time is fine, but you're taking too much damage trying to get your initial jump off here. Okay. You can literally just jump on the Ash. Jumping on the Ash will buy your team the space they need, or you can just put your bubble down. Either one. Really? Did you really just count on DM? Oh no, that's the direction that we expect. Good, good. That's how that's supposed to work out.
Yeah, now they can't go. We just kind of have to wait this one out for Nart.
You don't want to engage with Nano. Engaging with Nano isn't proper until you've been able to rotate your backline close enough to actually be helpful, and you haven't. Your backline isn't in at all.
Fleta doing the same, also going to be a miss, so no extended punishment onto the side of the...
And it's not like it's hard for Guexei to go, I jump up to here with my double bubble, and then I drop before I get into trouble. And before I get into trouble doesn't mean when I'm at 200 health. It means when he's much healthier than that, because this is just needs to be a soft engage. And on the next bubble cycle, after his backline has gone into here or into here, then he can do the real engage with a nano on top of it. It's all it takes. It's all it takes. And he doesn't need to distract everyone with his dive onto DM here. He just needs to get the dive on DM. And if he instead wants to dive onto Void, that would even be fine. Okay. So now they're coming out for the real engage with IDK gone. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Big nade. Bernard managed to maintain a lot of energy there, or get a lot of energy real fast. Because Guexei was not cooperating previously in getting him the energy. Oh, he got a lot right there with that personal. And then that one he gets good energy off of. Okay. So basically he spiked energy right there. Mm-hmm. Lose the Mercy.
Still not really stepping onto the point, not generating any percentage. Void just trying to displace Bernard, kill this high energy Zarya, but they finally break free, get out of the cubbies, out of the garage.
Dragons are trying to find a way back into the fight, having lost their Mercy. And Lee is swapped over to the Lucio now to try to come back.
Now Fleta and the rest of Shanghai actually backing towards play. Izyaki's quite low. DM can still bob this. If they really want to play, the bob has to come out, and it does.
Yeah, so we can see what happened here. Like, they got the Mercy elimination, and that was a big deal, don't get me wrong. But they're not clearing anything else. They're just on point, and on point means you're surrounded. If you're surrounded, you're not going to have a good time. You win the point after you actually have map control. The point on most maps is intentionally not in a very strong position. You need to get control of the stuff around the point to then get the point. Mm-hmm. And they just didn't clear enough before they tried to go, oh, we plant people on point now. Why are you surprised that they held? All they really got was the Mercy. Like, that was all that really mattered that Spark got out of Dragons.
On the Zenyatta, I mean, you know, we were talking about it before the series even started. Izzyaki is leading in so many metrics right now as far as Zenyatta is concerned. He's right in the middle when it comes down to deaths. So fifth, deaths, and I mean, just leading the charge in things like damage and healing from transcendences.
Okay, are you guys gonna rotate in properly this time?
This map already is such a clear showing of why he is on top.
I can tell you right now, Izzyaki.
No, you're not. Oh, there's a bubble on our Winston while he's sitting here behind a truck. Lovely.
Saying a lot currently in terms of what Zenyatta's bringing to the table. He's nearly got another trance. He used a tempo trance after being bridged up. Burner has.
Okay, so you did ultimately force this rotation. Good. I don't love how you did it, but you did it, so we're good. Now you can make a successful engage. This isn't my favorite successful engage because this engage is clearly in this direction on the map when your backline is more looking to rotate in this direction and your backline isn't up here on the high ground yet. So, like, I don't think this is going to be a particularly powerful engage, but at least your backline is rotated out of the choke before you're hitting this nano engage. So it's going to be better than the last one.
Has some flux as well. The nano comes on through. Kushrin needs to find value.
Not quite able to do it, but you're not quite able to get the Mercy, but you do get the trans out. Ooh! Pulse bomb takes him down. Okay.
They take him out. Grab is used. They do manage to find a couple kills on the back end. Now Architect coming in with two. Bernard scooping one apiece, and it seems like finally the Spark will be able to lock this down. It's going to be an OT as Fate just gives himself up. So they do get the cap onto point A. Will not be seeing a full hold here.
Okay, so if we go back through this, we saw what happened to Guexei. This happens. The Transcendence gets forced out, so it's not a wasted nano, but then the Pulse Bomb is effectively able to take down Guexei. And do we lose Fate or DM? we have the grab and the rally happening elsewhere. So that's two ults that are in the rotation of double bubble, supposed to win different fights, but they're investing both of them to win this fight. And they've already invested their own pulse bomb and nano in this fight. So the grab contains the last bit of the trance, and they get some value into the grab after it's over. Yep. Okay. So the grab plus rally is able to do it. So they corralled them. They had them all corralled effectively enough into the same space by the Nano Winston, and then the backline was able to get here in time in the form of the grab and tracer. Okay. But there's going to be no momentum here for any sort of there's no momentum. Like, this is a comp that relies pretty heavily on its ults, and all it's got going into this next fight is bomb, which is not one of its trump card ults. Its trump card ults at this moment are grab and rally, and it used both. Okay, so we're going to see if Shanghai takes a better forward hold. If they take the sort of forward hold which they didn't, you can get away if you're really fast on your setting up over turning what is generally the neutral wasted space in 2CP. The space between A and B on most maps ends up being wasted a lot. But if you, as the defensive team, quickly enough go hold the spot to the right, so you go to the outside and take the elevator up and then are back inside the enclosed space again, you can actually get pretty darn strong holds from there. They did not. They did not set up in time.
I gotta say, you know, Hangzhou Spike look like they're struggling on that attack, but when they do have Nano available and Gushui finds the good target, he drops onto Lee Jae-gon, forces the tempo transfer from Izuyaki because they can't afford to lose Lee Jae-gon's Mercy. Because of that, there's no trance versus...
Okay, Spark trying to rotate through for left side control. Okay, I'm not really sure how much Void's team is set up to follow up on this. Like, his ball is, but what about his actual team? Is it just you two trying to 2v5, 2v6 them? Yeah, you're basically trying to 3v6 them. It's the two tanks and their Mercy doing this. Zen got the contribution. Where is the Zen? Was the Zen on a deep enough angle? I want to see where Zen was. No, this was not a great place to take this fight, in my opinion. But Flux is a powerful ult. Yeah, I mean, Flux Minefield gets the job done. Flux Minefield gets the job done. That's going to do that. Fate is staying on the ball. That's fine. Did get 40% of your Flux back. That helps. And IDK is still only at 20% on the rally.
Up here, and another interesting factor is after A was done, Izuyaki's damage on Zen was only 100 behind Flitter's damage on Tracer, so Izuyaki had been pumping up damage. That gap has widened a bit, and now as we progressed over towards B and looking over towards the next Nano, that's really the time that Spark's been looking for. Every single Nano onto Gushui has at least found value in terms of pressure. I wouldn't be surprised if Gushui finds the ability to land on Lee Jae-gon.
Trying for their elevator rotation.
A lot of pressure and a lot of
it's kind of over already. The elevator rotation doesn't have to be a surprise, but it kind of has to be a surprise. No, they're not.
They invest the bomb up front. They reroute the Spark, delay their approach by about 20 seconds or so there. On the back of that one ultimate.
Okay, starting to look rough for Spark. Let me rephrase that. It looks rough for the whole map because they didn't know how to take A.
It's taken a lot of time to get here. I mean, the time bank wasn't that huge, but down to just 1 minute now, which means this almost needs to be a perfect fight. There's not really a lot of room to reset.
Fate gets taken out. We don't really see how.
Here we go. That's the go signal. Lee Jae-gon.
Yeah, you're going to do that. Nano for a dive on the front line isn't amazing. You're sort of using ults to rotate in, but you already got one, so you're going to hit go. That's fine. Get the Valk out. Can you deny the res hard enough? Okay. Okay. Yeah, you have Primal to follow it up with, which is pretty normal after a Nano, if in what you expect is the winning fight. Ooh, nice shot.
Swatted out of the sky like the mob that he is. With Void gone, it seems like Hangzhou Spark should be able to get the cap on the B. The question is, can Shanghai Dragons try and delay and force this into overtime? And 17 seconds remaining in the grab. Not going to find anything there from Bernard zoning, as you said. Forces into overtime. And 17 seconds remaining in the grab. Not going to find anything there from Bernard.
Yeah, I don't love that leap. I'd have just said line of sight that, but okay.
Ticking up onto the point. It's just 12 more seconds to be bought.
Okay, so that's cool. Cool that they took it, and cool that they took it with time. I liked that Guexay had a little bit of a redemption arc on second there for the team win fight, where he got good value done with the Nano, got a lot done back here, went to got eliminations, came back, got primal elimination on the Mercy as well. That was a nice little redemption arc for Guexay after what I don't think was a very good first point for him. I think he was, he went down in the first push on what should have been a soft dive, didn't make any more soft dives out there, just stood there and didn't stand there and get chunked, but could not find a way to do what he felt even remotely comfortable with in terms of a soft dive on first. So nice little redemption arc on second for him there, but the rotational prowess has not been amazing for Hangzhou Spark. They got point A off of, you know what, we finally got a halfway decent rotation, and now we're going to invest both grab and rally, and that's going to be enough to win. So we'll have no momentum whatsoever onto second. With our high ult power comp, we'll have used everything, because they also did use Pulse Bomb and Nano in that fight that they won, but these were the two that really mattered. And then for second point, it happened of, hey, they had a lot of their rotation time wasted. They had a lot of that happening. They'd lost 30 seconds, getting forced back a little bit even before the fight that they did take. And then when they did take it, it was off the back of Shy getting an elimination on Fate, was it? On Fate or DM? Shy getting an elimination that, oh, now we can actually rotate in properly, etc. Not we've set up our rotations correctly. We've done stuff to get ourselves an elimination, but we're just going to outmuscle you and get an elimination so that we can rotate. That's not really what we want.
They cannot touch. They cannot get there. They cannot force.
Visible spot. Seconds remaining. So they have to think about.
Okay.
If they tempo trans needing it, Spark with 11 seconds.
So let's see how this changes. Dragons are, it looks like, no, they're on the offense now. So Spark are going to run their same comp. Spark are going to keep their double bubble comp with the Ash and the Tracer for defense. Fortunately, rotating shouldn't be as hard for them on defense, so should look a little bit better. And then the Dragons are coming out with just a standard poke dive comp. Okay. Dragons are coming out with a poke dive comp. Fine with me.
That's where they want the most of their damage to come through. That being said, their DM is maybe not doing as much damage you'd expect. It's actually Shy top of the table.
He doesn't have to, Fate doesn't have to do the same soft dives. Soft dives can still be useful, but he doesn't have to do the same soft dives that Guexay needed to do on his offensive round, because Fate doesn't have a Zarya that needs to power up.
Really pumping it out. It takes quite a big hit as well.
So does Bernard, though. Being chucked down below half HP. Bionade in onto Izayaki. They're looking for the finishing blow. Haven't been able to find it. He's still just fishing for these right-click hold kills. Get it, but they slow up Shanghai Dragons. As the healing has to come through. Zoom in ahead, really with that Valkyrie online, just to make it that much more annoying to lock down in the skies.
Kind of racing MCD, by the way. It's this Nano that we're waiting for. Again.
Okay, MCD is almost there on the Nano. I assume that will be what they consider their green light.
As long as no one on Spark is dying, it's fine. You're just trying to build forward MCD's Nano. He's nearly got it now. They can engage. Shanghai's taking a lot of space, which means as soon as Nano's available,
yeah, that's mostly true. Okay, so Shanghai really have out leveraged this position wise. They, as you can see, were able to rotate in. Part of it is that they're attacking into a different comp, but they were able to rotate in much more effectively to get map control here. So it's just a question of, can they burst it back on Spark's side with this Nano engage? And I'd love to see what's happening in our Nano engage, but I really can't. Oh, there we go.
Reinforcements now.
Nope.
Storming through. He makes it out 17 HP.
How? How are you alive?
Get some heals onto this man. No, they
There you go.
cannot do so. And Leeching on gets the res on Izayaki, so the nano play on a Gushue, it ends up just getting counter.
Right, because he chased like into an enclosed space. Like we see this, and it's like, okay, oh look, yeah, I got Izayaki. Your team isn't following you up in here. Like your team has to be able to provide value when you're doing these shenanigans. And is your team providing value? Is anyone on Shanghai losing meaningful health right now
He's looking for a little bit more.
that he's not zapping? And the answer is basically no.
Storming through, he makes it out 17 HP. Can somebody get some heals onto this man? No, they cannot do so. And Leeching on gets the res on Izayaki, so the nano play.
I'm sure they're doing something. I'm sure if I saw the replay code, I'd see, ah, yes, they're getting some value, but not enough.
It ends up just getting counter punished very heavily now.
And they need to, because like Guexei is pulling, he's got 3 people in there with him, he's pulled a Valk in there with him, and that has to mean that there's enough room for the rest of Spark to take advantage of the uneven fight and win quickly, but they have to be positioned to do so.
Back to the fight is just going all the way of Shanghai Dragon.
Sounds like ladder TCP.
This up, they will get the cap, and it is going to be a monstrous time bank available to Shanghai to take the second point.
And it was starting to look positive for Hangzhou as well. They finished the map, can A be successful. We're just eyeing down the nano boost to see if it can be played in time. The most important thing that happened there, though, was that Shanghai took a lot of space for free. You saw them kind of start pushing back against Hangzhou, who are losing space, losing more and more angles to work with. Shida's going up against Dean when Dean's been.
So Shanghai are taking this, which they can do. I don't necessarily want Fleta up here. I'd like Fleta to be taking some different map control. This looks like it's going to be too one-directional for Shanghai's attack. Okay, so that's good. We've seen Fate transition. We're seeing Void transition. Okay. So now we have more map control. And they're not in any way pushed while their tank's cooldowns are down. So now if they can hold this map control, yeah, they're going to use the Bob to let the Bob be the pressure on the point to force Spark to bring someone into their sight lines. Oh, doesn't quite get on the point. There was a whip shot involved in that. Which means Fate goes to point because Bob isn't getting enough value on the point. And Fate going to point means that there's something for Spark to pretty safely punish. Fate has to use his primal. Yeah. Okay, so if that whip shot was the difference that kept Bob off the point, that was pretty big. In terms of ruining this engage. It wasn't like a super costly bad engage for Dragons, but it did cost them their Bob and their Primal and not really get value.
Shy's actually been kind of the hidden MVP so far for Sky. He's had some decent opening picks. If you can do that again, that would be brilliant. Still haven't played this graph, so that's going to be pretty much...
In comes Guexei. There's zero ability for them to follow up on what Guexei is doing here. Guexei Primals. That's exactly what we expected. So it bought a little bit of time and then it knocked down Zen, but like, it doesn't work. Guexei has to go in with his primal. He needs to treat it like he's playing another double bubble comp, but he needs to play it like he's going second, as some people call it, where Shanghai sends in their people. Shanghai sends in their dive, and he responds by diving in with his bubble, then with his Zarya bubble, and then with his primal to not let Shanghai's backline contest or to try to get a limbs on Shanghai's backline while Shanghai's front line is already in. That's what he needs to be doing. He can't just go in there like that to primal because, yeah, he knocked a couple people down. That delays the attack a little bit, but you need to actually break the attack by, having it so that you're disrupting their backline when their front line's already in, and now their front line is unsupported, and your backline beats their front line.
Put here from the side of Shanghai. So it does force him back in the end.
You guys immediately regret chasing into buildings as tanks? Depends on the tank, but yeah.
being taken here. Nearly 50% on the board to the side of the Shanghai Dragons. Flooded with the pulse. Managed to find IDK. The rally now not in the fight. Graviton Surge comes out from Bernard. Catches a few members, but they need to get the kills. So far, it's only going to be Fate going down as Gushwei gets that stomp. Rez comes in instantly. However, from Lee J gone, and now Bernard is going to be killed on the back end. So they lose on the high energy Zarya. Nano boost in onto Gushwei, but again, the Discord orbs are making it so very difficult for him. He will fall in the end. The rally now rolling from IDK, but he's got no one realistically to
Rally
offer up
OP, but
armor
not
to.
OP enough.
A little bit on the shy. It's forced back off the point, but does manage
Oh,
to stay alive for a little
taking
while.
those.
Now with Fleta gone,
Shy finds an answer.
can come through. IDK pushes up, looks for Izayaki to try to send
Okay.
him to the side of the map. Waiting for that whip shot, but won't get the line of sight onto him.
Don't get Zend. Yep.
Now starts reaggressing, but that's a fight one.
Why are you peeking that angle while the Discord's still on you?
What about the two ticks that go the way of Shanghai Dragons? That's a lot of distance gain. There's a lot of momentum there. It's
I don't know about that bash, but okay.
remaining. You have a case where Izayaki didn't even use a trance to counter Burner. I think Izayaki's just saying today he doesn't care about the grab at all. Burner pops the grab.
Okay, so Shanghai are up to 2 ticks.
He missed. Nano came pretty late as well. I think if you just Nano Gushwei get in and confirm the damage to the grab, that would be okay. The grab, or rather the Nano, had to be used to kind of save the point, considering that the Primal was gone as well. Shire respawns, gets a Dynamite kill, and look, thankfully for Hangzhou, they were able to respawn and use that kind of respawn advantage to go into their favor. If they lost more players there, if it wasn't, you know, Gushwei holding a little bit longer, having the Nano popped in, it would have been pretty disastrous because the grab was certainly not it.
Hard to see what's going on while we're driving a Tracer here, but that's okay.
Fate, low HP, does have to exit. Void as well, quite low, so they will disengage. Gushwei had gone in with that Primal Rage. Good things onto Void. Not enough to get him out of the mech. Shy now down to 5 health. Comes right up over the top. The bomb from DM taking out Bernard. Gushwei now falling, and it seems like this
Okay. We didn't have the greatest view for this fight, but it looks like it is the take, so I'd prefer not to skip it. Here we are.
The grab, or rather the Nano, had to be used to kind of save the point, considering that the Primal was gone as well.
Fate's working his way in, Void's working his way in, Tracer's going in through the elevator.
Thankfully for Hangzhou, they were able to respawn and use that kind of respawn advantage to go.
Void's been forced to the right side attacker's perspective, but Tracer has still got left side map control. Backline is in play. Then we get that. Flood is just playing tag with the other Tracer. Have been able to work your way relatively cheaply onto the point from Dragon's perspective. And do they have the ults to do it? Dragons don't really have the ults to do it. Guoxei pops his Primal to try to disrupt the backline, which is correct this time. This time this is correct because the tanks from Shanghai are in. Maybe they were last time, but this time they're in, so that's correct. But, you know, it's like, hey, this was correct, but you weren't able to actually get backline. You weren't able to actually get backline eliminations yourself with the Primal, and neither was your team able to punish the front line that was in while their backline was disrupted. Okay, there's the Bob. Here's the play that we all saw open their attack on first. It got messed up by the whip shot by IDK last time. 5 health survives.
Taking out Bernard. Gushwei now falling, and it seems like this should be the cap here. Izayaki puts MCD in the ground. Pulse bomb down, not going to find anything, but the fight still wildly going the way of the Shanghai Dragons.
So yeah, I mean, they were... Shanghai Dragons had a much, much easier time earning space every time. This might look close, but to me, this looks like the Dragons have been playing it much better. I'd say the Dragons have been playing it much better, but we've had a few clutch moments where Shy has just found picks, or IDK has shut something down. Like, we've seen a couple clutch plays, but overall I would say Shanghai are playing this methodically more strongly.
Flir's on 6.1k, Izayaki's on 6k, and here's a fun fact for you. Architect's on 5.9k, so again, Izayaki is actually more damage done than a DPS or an important play on the Hangzhou Spark.
I'm not convinced that Spark, like, Spark should get Nano in time, but I'm not convinced that Spark are going to be able to rotate.
I mean, yeah, that initial hold on point A was doing wonderful.
Everyone wants to see Molly get played, but Izayaki's fragging right now. Like, this is the thing. Like, Shanghai are back on form. They're looking good. 2 minute 35 time.
Okay, not using the Winston bubble to rotate, not jumping on the Ashe, not jumping on the Sigma, just trying to rotate. sort of do get it done, do use the bubble ultimately.
They got to complete A. I think if they don't complete A, it's not looking good.
Okay, that's fine. He can jump there because he can't be jumped by Guangxi right now. Hard, but you can reach him. There's the bubbles. Okay. That was a better rotation. I don't see exactly what caused him to go down. Does he jump in and get peeled? Yeah, he jumps in while too low health. So here we are. Here we are, Guangxi. Guangxi doesn't have armor. Guangxi is leaping in without any armor, and by the time Guangxi lands, already eliminated. Where's your bubble? Where's your second bubble? There's your second bubble, but where was the first bubble? Why did you jump when chipped so hard? You can use your DPS. There's a give and take. You can let your tracer bait a little bit of attention, just a little bit of attention to let you jump type thing. Like, yeah. Oh! Once again, Shy just kind of going, I refuse to let my team lose. Beating the Zen from low ground position.
Rez already going to be committed, however, onto the support, so Fate's going to have to rejoin into the fight. DM now crumbles, and it seems like the spark have finally broken through. Just a few seconds remaining. They're starting to tick up here onto the point, and the respawns are not going to come in fast enough. Void so slow to rejoin the action. Architect falling low, pulls back around the corner. Shanghai, how badly did they want to commit in for this? Is Iyaki just going to be dropping down?
No, Spark, we're going to cap this.
Time is Luddick goes into the back line, but the rest of the squad looks for the reset. They get set up now to defend on point B.
There it is, you know, that's going to be the
Hey, Semitic.
Spark to get the A point required. Can they get more than that? The nano's available. It's going to be a good shot. I think at this stage, depending on Bernard's energy, it's too low, 35. I was going to say maybe Nano Bernard to get this, you know, grab it on Surge online, even though Iziaki's not going to care about it either way, apparently. It will be Nano to Gushui, I'm pretty sure. They need to get, if they can get maybe one tick here on even
do you have any solid engage tools? The Nano and the Bob? Yeah. That's fine. Bob will hold point for you. Really?
Huge play from him. They take on, however, while taking quite a bit of damage, does manage to escape with the Valkyrie and to bring Fate back into the fight. Doesn't have the primal range though.
So didn't quite get that elimination, and now they're able to do it. We'll rewatch it. Here you are. You have your ults. Has the Rhine nerf made double bubble the more popular pick, or I guess a mix of the changes? Not really, but we don't really know because of the patches that get played on for these events. Things continue on the patch they were on in a lot of ways. So, in terms of the official pro tournaments, if they start on a patch, they tend to continue on the patch until they get some sort of break, like being between tournaments. In terms of on ladder brawl is just so easy to coordinate that there's some level of sticking, but people always experiment after patches. Okay, so you push through here. You have the Valking Mercy just glued, so the Nano getting this much value. Your Nano should not get this much value, where the Valking Mercy, the Mercy is Valking, and then not getting any chain value out of it. But ultimately, don't get the elimination. Doesn't matter though, because this time Architect with the carry is just like, oh, I'm going to finish both of them off with a pulse bomb. Do you finish the Mercy? No, you know. You finish the Mercy. Okay, good. Redemption. They get a little bit of a corner juggle there on Izayaki. They displace him. They get the kill. They're knocking him off the point. Once Guangxi can get in, he's got very nice mechanics. He makes very good decisions. It's just his getting in that is weak, to be honest. Like, they almost are the prototypical, well, we'll try to sort of do stuff and nothing's going to work until our TPS gets picks. That's not quite right. That's not quite fair, but that is what's happening. First point both times was off of Shy basically just going, I'm going to make this happen. No. 1 second point cap was just off of Shy going, I'm going to make this happen. The second first point cap was off of that. Architect, you know, they had a good engage. That's not like Architect did it by himself, don't get me wrong. But Guexe wasn't quite able to get the finish, wasn't quite able to do that. And it's not his job necessarily to get the finish. Like, it is his job to enable the DPS, don't get me wrong. That's not like a serious knock. But he certainly didn't get the second one. I mean, the second one off of that was the pulse bomb. Okay, we're fine. Oh, do we get to see it? I want to see it.
The back of winning A quite successfully. There it is, just a replay of it.
Yeah.
Sticking it on towards Fate, runs it into Void. The one res as well.
Cool.
Also the res. Despite reses coming on in, it's
Poor Winston trying his best to stop res with his zaps. It's doable. It's hard. You got to be on it immediately, but it's doable.
Else, no tanks being available is a big point here. Both did the minimum.
Okay. My lean at this point would be that Spark probably win the map. I would have favored I still think that mostly Dragons are methodically playing better than Spark here, but Spark did pop off enough, we'll say. There's more to it. There was some methodical correct play from them, but mostly popped off enough. Got some good picks that were not particularly enabled to win the map, and it's going to just be hard to make up for that with 2.5 minutes.
Well, saw them shifting around with a couple different picks in the lobby, but now
Gouchway. Okay. That helps. I'll probably forget that in 30 seconds, but Gouchway. I can try that. Or I'll just pronounce it differently every single time and see, you know, if you guys notice. Okay. So still have the double bubble coming out of Spark. Still going with a poke dive comp out of our Dragons. I expect this will again mean an easier time rotating for our Dragons. What? Yeah, okay. I don't necessarily love that. Yeah, that wasn't a particularly great engage from Shanghai. Like, I was expecting that to be a pretty soft engage, but their tanks went in like it was more serious than that. And all I mean by that is it's fine with me that that Fate and Void went in here and even committed the bubble because there was a scary backline up there. But that was mostly just we're doing this to be annoying while our backline rotates, and then we're going to loop back behind this wall, behind this truck, so that your backline can't commit on us without dropping. But we were enough of a threat during our soft dive to help our backline rotate to get some positioning on the map. That's what I was expecting here.
You may be able to survive as well, but as I say that, focus damage does come through. So
okay, Fate's able to get a finish. Trade back the Brig.
They still have to play this out a little bit slower while they wait for Legion to get back into this fight. Limited healing available with Izayaki.
They'll get back before IDK does, so that's going to be advantage the way of Shanghai, at least for the time being. It would require Shanghai to kind of go now. The longer they wait, the quicker IDK returns. They have the flank acquired, I should say, and Shanghai Dragons taking space away from Hangzhou.
Are we actually going to use the high ground that we earn with this space, or are we just going to play from here? Guess we're going to play from here. I don't love this. Yes, it's a little hard because you have to finally push out into the high ground through a very narrow doorway that they're all going to be looking at. On the other hand, it's your high ground. Like, it's your high ground. Okay. They're not the first team I've seen make this decision. I'm a little skeptical of it still, but
Nearly the nano for MCD.
Yeah, he has it online now, but maybe he was going to get picked up with quite a bit of damage.
Okay, Guexe comes in with the Gouchway comes in with the nano.
That's going to be the nano. Thrown forward here on the Gouchway as he dives into the back.
You followed pretty far to your bubble, so here you are. You had your Zarya bubble. You wasted ammo with your Zarya bubble?
Yeah, he has it online now, but maybe he was going to get picked up with quite a bit.
A little bit, but not much. Maybe a little more than a little bit. Okay, you're here. You think Brig is the target rather than the Ashe. Either of them can knock you back, and the Ashe doesn't have armor, but okay. Now that you swap to the Ashe, you're going to swap to the Zen because Zen can't Harmony Orb himself, and you used your bubble immediately and then followed them out of your bubble, which was sort of reasonable. You were always going to get knocked back into your bubble. Okay. No, you hadn't used your bubble. It was the other bubble. Oh. Oh no, you didn't have bubble for the engage. Did you really do this? You're 4 seconds away from your bubble when you do this dive. The Zarya bubble definitely doesn't last long enough, and this means you get discorded. That's not okay. So one of the things about double bubble that it does is you have the Zarya bubble. So like the Zarya bubble clears the discord that's on you, and you get the Zarya bubble on your way in as you're, most of the way in, somewhat close to landing, etc. And then after you've landed and have been able to get the spot you want, but at some point before, and it's important, before the Zarya bubble expires, you lay down your bubble so that you can't get discorded. Because while double bubble often plays into itself, it will sometimes play into Zen comps, and this was one of the big things about floats, that you could do this, and you have to apply that same concept when playing against this. So him going in against a Zen comp, especially, but really against anything, without his bubble available, like the Zarya bubble is going to expire, he's going to get discorded. Yes, he's nanoed, and that's damage reduction, but discord is going to be a damage increase. Like, you don't like that. You don't like that at all. He's of course discorded. He can't bubble yet. He can't bubble yet. He's already been forced out, and he's dropping his bubble with 100 HP. Oh, they're healing him hard. Anonade and everything. Okay, Anonade's enough. And now he's trying to break the mech. Isn't able to break the mech. Isn't able to break the mech, but his team is able to clean it up. Good for them. Okay, nice save there. Nice save by MCD.
That's what I'm saying as well. When the nanos come through for Spark, they're able to get quite a lot done with that. And even if Fushrey kind of gets burned, they will get the space. But when you have like kind of an elite Winston on your team, this is what you can, really receive as well. Speaking of receive, Izayaki just taking a bit of a sleep. On the from MCD. This is more slowdown. I mean, we talked about the 1 minute 30 advantage. That's well and truly gone down to 40 seconds now. Ultimates will count. There's a lot of ultimates coming online for Spark in just a second.
Yeah, I mean, there is going to be this transcendence from Izayaki, but the Bionade is well placed enough there from MCD. Completely around Bernard. 9% out.
Ult-wise, Primal, Grav, Bob and Pulse Bomb, Bob, Primal, Rally. I mean, yeah, it's an ult advantage for Shanghai.
From the Graviton Surge. Continuing to build up. Architect going to be slicking around the back.
Oh, look.
Out from the Graviton Surge.
We're trying to figure out how to win a fight for the Spark. And Shy just goes, no, I'm just going to do this. Not enabled by the team in any way, just does this.
Finds Fleta on the flank. The pulse bomb taken out of the fight. And Architect so far undetected. Could just try to force this right now, but the Bionade comes in. He gets the assassination.
And Architect does this? Like, what do you do? Okay. He got help. Like, this isn't Architect doing it by himself. And there's more pressure on them. So Anna supported that, I suppose. Yeah. Okay. And that's the end of that. The ults don't matter, you're down too many people. Okay. So, like, I'm still of the opinion that these guys executed their strategies better. These guys, knew how to rotate better, etc. Understanding it's easier to rotate into this comp than it was to rotate into Shanghai's original comp. But if you just pop off a couple times, this is why you see a lot of place people just go, nope, none of it matters, none of it matters. Just pick the absolute best mechanical players that you can, because it's gonna just win you some fights. But hey, that's okay, and that's gonna lead to just winning you some games.
Out of the mech, and the Spark have done it. They come back in here on Volskaya, looking
incredible and
yeah.
for all the heroic. Oh man, Hangzhou Spark have the clutch factor. Shanghai Dragons had the better regulation time. They had 230 versus.
They did have the clutch factor. I don't know that I'd go further than that, but they did have the clutch factor. Okay, on to King's Row. Ooh, and we're playing King's Row with not Brawl. I suppose that's pretty normal for the Eastern Division these days, and I should just get used to it. But hey,
Architect, anything that an Architect wants to play, that might be the combo. Looking over towards Hangzhou Spark composition as well. They're going back to the double bubble.
Okay. Spark are going to play the double bubble. Architect is back on the Tracer, just one of the Widow shots. And Shanghai Dragons are on what is now their normal poke dive comp with the Sigma. Okay. Lee J Gun is on the Mercy, not the Brig right now. Okay. I think you can probably just justify full-time running the Brig if you want over the Mercy. Like, yeah, I would in fact justify full-time running the Brig over the Mercy, because helping DM is cool and all with your damage boost, but you know that Spark are going to run the double bubble, and if you know Spark are going to run the double bubble, the Brig is going to get you more value in terms of, hey, you've got rally, you've got packs, you've got the ability to shut down Winston a couple different ways between whip shot, between bash. Like, we like it.
Yeah, I mean, so that stat just there on your screen, the 5 times that Hangzhou and Shanghai have met each other since 2019. They haven't been able to take a map away from Shanghai, so it's already a very big improvement on their record. Getting that Volskaya win in now. Let's see if they can do it yet again here on King's Row. Put themselves in pole position and at match point to be able to close out this series. Slow on the start as they get poked coming through main here. This is not going to be the most.
A little unrelated, but what exactly makes it support a flex support? I always thought they were called that back in the day because they would flex off support role, but I don't know anymore. It's positions on a team. So flex supports are, so you just think of them as 6 different positions on a team, because you need to be able to play a position within a team to fulfill a role. And to fulfill a role is, well, what do different team comps that we might have to play demand? And the reality is, if you can play Zen, Ana, Moira, and sometimes BAP. Am I missing anyone? No. If you can play these 4 heroes, it is going to be extremely rare that your team needs a person that needs to play a hero that is not these 4 heroes. Whereas if you're on the main support, you can go Mercy, Lucio, Brig, and we'll also go BAP. And if you can play these 4 heroes, it's incredibly rare that it doesn't work. There aren't very many situations where you want Zen plus Ana. Teams have experimented with it, it's usually wrong. There really are almost no situations where you want Mercy plus Lucio. It's bad. There's not really situations where you want Moira plus Zen. Yeah, that's not right. Like, your Zen is just going to get crushed. You see what I'm saying? What ends up happening is you want one of these supports that offer a lot of power but are vulnerable. So that would be Zen and Ana primarily. Zen and Ana are primarily the 2 supports that offer a lot of power but are vulnerable, and to a limited extent BAP. And then you want a support that is very hard to punish, like Mercy or Lucio, but does a very good job of peeling for their other support, which Mercy and Lucio both do. So you see we've done that. Brig also does a great job of supporting another hero, so tends to get played with an Ana, with a Zen. Oh, well, if she's played with an Ana, with a Zen, she's not going to be played by the person who plays the Zen or the Ana. She's going to be played by the person who plays the Lucio or the Mercy. I guess that should be an O, and that should be an E. because you aren't going to run. You're going to try to get the power in most comps of a Zen, an Ana, or a BAP, and then you're going to get something to peel for them. And then you get to the BAP, and why do they both have BAP in their pool? They both have BAP in their pool because BAP really is more of a flex support in how they're designed, but BAP is probably the flex support that has enough power to BAP is the flex support that has enough power to sort of self-peel for themselves between Immortality Field and Shift. So what'll sometimes end up happening is if you run a really greedy poke comp, Zen plus BAP is the thing over here that really is two flex supports that does see some play and maybe isn't wrong, the way that Zen Ana most of the time is wrong. Mercy Lucio all the time is wrong. Moira Zen all the time is wrong. So like that's why this currently sees some overlap. We've seen a meta where playing these two together wasn't really a absolutely wild thing. And by absolutely wild, I mean pretty wild. Like Zen Ana gets run and it's not absolutely wild. There's a couple places when you're playing defense specifically that you can get away with it, but it's not something you really are worried about that happening with. And then I know I haven't talked about Moira, but the reality is Moira only ever gets run with Lucio in comps. Moira doesn't really need anyone to peel for her, but she only gets run with Lucio in comps because Moira gets run in comps that can full dive, or Moira gets run with brawls poorly. And in both of those situations, you want the Lucio because the Lucio also can't be dove, or the Lucio enables the brawl. So that's how these work out. It's positions on a team. It's not about who does how much healing, or they need to be able to sometimes hop off and go play a soldier or a sombra. It's literally just a position in the team. In Australia, they called this one aim support versus main support. In most of the rest of the world, they just call this flex support versus main support, because we did the same thing where we had main tank and then off tank or flex tank. We did hit scan DPS, main DPS, and flex DPS. We didn't call it projectile DPS, we called it flex DPS. So it just sort of became that is our naming convention. Okay. Supports on ladder thing Leo plus Mercy is great. See it all the time. I know. Just cry your tears. They are salty. There's not much you can do. Okay, so back to our game.
Surprising thing, they make their way through the arches now. They still have to show a lot of respect to these Discord orbs as the Ziak is
Gwexay, are you going to get in without getting chipped as hard this time? Yes, you are. And you're going to get a bubble? Oh, we're already nanoing. Did I? Right, the first fight happened and I got distracted, didn't it? Let's go to here. Here we go.
On your screen, the 5 times that Hangzhou and Shanghai have each other.
Now, Gwexay is literally just feeding his health to charge nanos. Okay. Like, this is not my preferred way to play. I know it's what you're trying to do. It's just not my preferred way to play the game. They do get a lot. They do get a lot of value out of their nanos. It's just not my preferred way to play the game. I would much prefer that he instead is using his health to help his backline rotate, to help his DPS get in and set up more aggressively, rather than just going, let me stick my Winston face out there to get shot a couple times, and now I'll go behind cover to get healed. Let me stick my face out there to get shot a few times, and then I'll go behind cover to get healed. Like, it's not amazing, and it's not amazing because if it was amazing, the dragons would just stop shooting at him, and they don't. Like, no problem, Smitic.
The most surprising thing, they make their way through the arches now. They still have to show a lot of respect to these Discord orbs as the Ziak is pilot the Zenyatta.
Okay. Okay. So, you're going to do this. Where's your Tracer? Where's your Tracer, and where's your Ashe? I would like to know these things. Cool. I'm glad that you got your bubble. I'm glad that you got your nano, except that I have no idea where your Tracer or your Ana is. Your Tracer is not somewhere between here and here, which concerns me. Your Ashe might be in a valid position, but your Tracer is not in a valid position to threaten these guys either from here or from here. So, good luck. And these guys are going to retreat into here, where your Ashe, even if your Ashe is in a valid position, almost certainly can't see them. So this is all on a Gushwei who's admittedly had a little bit of Zarya and Ana support to get an elimination. I don't think that's particularly good. Will this give them all the space in the world to rotate their team in close to, now be, hey, we can get good positioning? Yes. Yes, it will. And that's great that they're going to get all the space in the world to do that. But then guess what? These guys are going to be able to push back in, try to retake space, and well, they're going to have to push back out. You guys will then have a weak monkey that's trying to get out here, a weak monkey that's trying to get out. So that'll be a bit of a liability for you. And these guys aren't going to have terrible positioning or anything. They're still going to be on high ground unless they dropped. And if they dropped, okay, they're still going to be able to tuck back in here, then push back out. Like, I just. By the way, is Road a counter for Ryan? No. Road can be really annoying for all tanks, but I don't know if I would say counter since all tanks have room to play around. So yeah, that would be correct. Roadhog is not particularly a counter for Reinhardt. He can certainly be annoying. He can certainly get hooks on Reinhardt, but usually if he's getting a lot of hooks on you as Reinhardt, it means you're not properly taking advantage of the off tank that you have. Like, you're not properly taking advantage of your Zarya bubble advantage to do your stuff when you have that Zarya bubble. Or he's going on long flanks and being annoying, and you're not properly pushing their front line with your off tank when he's leaving to go on those flanks, when he's away from the fight and not yet back to the fight to contribute in your own backline or from behind you, etc. And if it's, Roadhog without his own Reinhardt or Orisa, and he's trying to stand in the open and fight you, your team gets to shoot at him, which is pretty cool. Why? Why are you shredding them now? So Architect was able to get here. Okay. Like, yes, Nano is powerful. I agree Nano is powerful. Nano is still powerful. Why are you not booped back further? There's the bubble. You haven't dropped your bubble yet, but your thing is over. Why are you not being booped back? Why are you not being rocked? Why are you not being shifted by the Ashe? Now this happens, but like, this wouldn't have blocked the rock if the... That Zarya bubble doesn't last long enough for him to have done that. Like,
big pickup void now. Lee gone eliminated, and that's just point A gone. Effectively barring a miracle turnaround here.
Oh yeah, watching his ult charge just go up is super satisfying. I agree.
Back from the Shy. I keep saying the Shy, thinking of another Chinese player. But Shy coming in. Sorry, that's the wrong esport. But man,
Shy's in esports.
What a crushing start here for this.
Yeah, block hook is the answer.
Over 5 minutes.
You can flash shields, block hook, and then he's wasted it, and then he's very unhappy.
Might be called shy, but nothing shy about the way he's playing right now. That is in your face, as direct as it gets. The headshots flying in, the body shots doesn't matter. Damage flows. It's a combination of Gooseray go kill with the nano, followed by Shy hit the shots, and he's Yaki right now. Do you really want to be in the open versus Shy with considering the amount of damage that Shy's been?
Don't know about that TNT.
Funny enough, his DMs will be able to get the bob early enough.
Yeah, I should clarify before somebody pushes up their glasses and goes, well, actually, the Shy is he's a Korean player, but he plays in China. Anyway, we'll go back into this now. Don't want the nerds calling me out on Reddit and all that stuff.
So you guys tried to push back in with Valk here?
Anyway.
Here you are. You've decided that this monkey is not remotely stuck. Gooseray is not remotely stuck here, but you guys pop your Valk. I'm not convinced that you can push this hard enough to pop your Valk, because I'm not convinced that you want to push through this choke, even with your Valk. So that feels like a wasted Valk. Yeah, this Valk is exactly the issue of the opposing team. Spark were not committed hard enough to justify this Valk. So they're just going, we'll rotate out and wait for it to expire, which is correct.
Maybe more surprising is that Hangzhou just gave up. They decide not to play the Valkyrie. I would have expected Hangzhou to stay aggressive, at least to force the Bob, burn the Bob down, then respond. It's like they're waiting for another nano, which I think they are.
No, they're looking to win this with Graph.
Send Gushway to go kill.
Please be looking to win this with
That's
grab.
gonna be the nano now onto Bernard because he does fall low, so they're trying to keep him alive. He does have his grab up.
Yeah.
Super high energy.
Grab was the play they were playing around.
Manages to find Shy.
Mm-hmm.
Fight. Gonna see if he can do anything else in the back end of this primal rage, but receives the Discord Orb. Izayaki finding the kill. Kart's still inching forward, but it's not getting too much distance, and this should still show control coming in as Izayaki spots him out. He's gonna send a little bit of a solo assassination mission around the back, making sure that Architect cannot get the pitch in onto the supports. But speaking of supports, it's gonna be Bernard coming up with one.
Mm-hmm.
Falling off screen now to the M. Gone. Void knocked out of the mech and finished by
Rally OP.
I mean, while they're so busy.
So Shanghai did a pretty good job that fight, but again, this is the situation where if Spark go no, we are going to invest Rally and Grav into a fight. It's very hard to win that fight. Even if you go up a pick to start, it's very hard to win a fight because those are just both trump cards. If you use them both as well as using Nano and Primal in the fight, yeah.
So is able to manage to walk through, grab on a couple of important targets, take the back line down. So you want to see Gushway buying space with the primal. I still think maybe
you're enforcing your space.
Gushway could be way more of a threat with both primal and the nano available. Not necessarily using both, but one at a time. In any case, still 3 minutes to go. It's nearly at the finish line.
Okay, you guys are gonna tank trade out there. Tank trading out there buys a little space for dragons to push back out. Don't know about that. Oh, I thought you'd use boosters. My bad. Your movement confused me. Oh? Gushway is jumping in without a nano or a primal? I don't believe my eyes. Okay. Good stuff. Yep.
4 minutes still on the
Good stuff.
The Spark, who look reinvigorated after that, wash of a final round of Nepal. A rough start on Volskaya, but they are fully awake now.
Well, I think it's a composition swap that's so important. Like, yeah, put Gushway and Ryan to play a role. That doesn't sound like what Hangzhou Spark should be doing. That doesn't sound like a good comp for them. Like I said,
yeah, Gushway I don't think that's controversial. I think the answer's fair there.
He lands on Izyak on the Lee Gone, somehow just gets a solo kill. Nano does come on through.
Again. Yeah, now Bernard lock them down with that grab, self-destruct, let loose.
Let's watch our initiation a little more closely.
Sound like a good comp for them.
Okay, so they've taken a lot of space on Spark's side here. They've pushed, their team to take the angles. We do see this good control where they have Tracer and Monkey up here. They have Zarya and Brig over here as their backline to rotate in. They have their Ashe playing this middle lane. This is powerful, what Spark have done here. This is good.
And now he doesn't even need the
And that Ashe and Zenith should just get crushed on the left by what they have over there in their Zarya and Brig. Nah, the Mercy might help, especially if the Diva dives in, but if they invest that hard to go, they are. They are going to invest deep into going here, but now we can see the Tracer goes across. The Tracer's going to have the flank. We should see Guxie's own Winston come in, Spark's own Winston come in here. They should be fine. Like, yes, this is the situation where it's like, here's Spark. Oh no, we're in trouble because we are surrounded by these guys. This is bad. They have more angles on us, except that by committing on that, we've committed to, nope, we have more angles outside of you. And yes, then there is one more still to factor in over here. But by and large, this is like almost a bait. Like they're diving to clear this. They're diving from every direction to try to clear this when I don't think that's going to work. I think Spark have enough strength with where they are that you guys are diving into getting grabbed. Yeah, you're diving into getting grabbed and you're diving into one place where you're going to all be vulnerable to the Nano Winston that can come in here or to the Grav Pulse Bomb that can come in here. This is a bait. And I believe Anna's right behind Shy where they can heal Bernard as well. There's the grab we expected. There's the nano that we expected. Also the primal. Less in love with that. Who's got the... Is the nano on Brig? Oh, the nano went on Brig to keep... That's fair. The Nano went on Brig to keep Brig alive, so Guoxei felt the need to pop his Primal. I don't love that. That said, they are still going to have their Rally plus Bob for next fight, so that's fine. I think this could have been done more easily. I don't think you needed Primal. I think you could have just gone, hey, we have Graph Pulse Bomb plus a Monkey jumping in plus a Nano Brig. I think that would have been fine.
Getting rid of the enemy Zarya. Rally rolling from IDK to try to keep everybody else alive. And in the fight, Izayaki falls. Fate gone again. Shy finds another kill. Now has the bomb to throw out.
But that was poor of Shanghai to not clear the angles, to go for their dive without having cleared some more angles.
Towards the spawn doors. A little bit of a corner there onto Void. He's just sending straight down the middle. Architect, however, finds Lee Jae gone, and this is looking like it's done. A huge time bank still here for the side of the Spark. Pile driver coming in to get the pushback from the coach gun, but Fate, as he pile drives down, is just completely dead.
Yes, Semitic, it is quite pretty. High level primals are fun to watch. Watching primals chase down and eliminate Valking Mercies and Tracers that have, you know, a blink, a recall, but are pretty low on resources are both super fun.
The pace that was set up, it already just feels like such a tall order. And I mean, normally you would have a lot of confidence in this team. It's the Shanghai Dragons, for crying out loud, one of the best teams in the world last year. And now you really have to start wondering, does the Spark just have their number?
I don't think the Spark do have the number. That was much more convincing. Spark's attack here on King's Row was much more convincing than their Volskaya play was. I'll grant that, but I wouldn't agree that this feels like over for the Dragons. This map, maybe. This match, no.
It's like, you know, the rest of the team is just kind of falling over. Is Fate going to be in trouble here soon?
And I say that completely forgetting what the scoreline is or who won. I say that literally just from a based on what I've seen perspective. Take that ledge. Yeah, it's a good ledge. There's some places you can punish teams when they start rotating for it in terms of we don't have a good camera angle, but you can set someone back here to like punish them from behind as your team aggresses in if they try to do the drop down. You can also do stuff like a Lucio up in the corner over there to boop them down to mess up their, you know, we're taking this high ground type thing and then have your team run over the part that gets knocked down. There's some stuff you can do to punish it, but yes, it is a strong rotation, especially in ranked. Why is Shan low ground here? Let's take a look.
Now you really have to start wondering, does the Spark just have their number?
Izyaki's trying so hard, he's putting up numbers again.
I think he stepped to the right to try to get a shot. I think that's what happened. I think he wanted to greed the shot a little bit harder, and it was too much, and he fell, and he's not too worried about it.
Just kind of falling over. Is Fate going to be in trouble here soon?
Has Shine died? Can you check that for me? I don't have the stats in front of me. Has Shine died at all on this map? Because it feels like he has.
One time.
One time.
Do you know who hasn't died? There you go. Fate isn't. Do you know who hasn't died? MCD has 0 deaths, by the way. That's why his nano uptime is so high, because he hasn't died yet.
Fine.
Yeah, incredible. Like I said,
Fate's not able to get in. Then Fleta goes down. Fine.
He's just snapped it on.
And now these guys are just doomed because they're going to get cleaned up in here. Well, probably.
Right now, Architect comes back.
Yeah.
Second kill. Oh, man.
As all of Shanghai get destroyed here, do you know who the most deaths on Hangzhou Spark currently is? It's Architect on 2, everybody else on 1, and then MCD on 0.
Wow.
That's what we're talking about.
That's a major turnaround compared to Nepal and the at least the initial beginnings of Volskaya.
12 final blows on Shy as well. So that's him getting either the last hit or the only hit required.
I think for the most part, it's him getting the only hit required because he's been just nailing these heads, just popping people.
Why are you here?
So that's him getting either.
I'm good with this.
Hit or the only hit required.
You're looking at forcing your way through here. Tracer can do this. Tracer's going to run into the other Tracer. Oh, you're trying to rotate. DM's trying to take this. Okay. That's okay, I suppose. This isn't really where you want to be, DM, and you know that. I don't love this. So let's think about this for a moment. We're running our poke dive comp into the double bubble. You've been trying to rotate your poke dive comp through this, and the poke dive is effectively mirrored, except you have a little bit more poke power to your poke dive comp. You have meaningfully more poke to your poke dive comp. You have a Sigma and a Zen versus their Zarya and Anna. And you're running a Mercy. Weirdly. I think you should be running a Brig. You'd still have more poke power than Spark. And you're trying to rotate through here. This would be so much easier with a Brig. Can you even do this without a Brig? You can't do this with DM this far out, that's for sure. I also don't need you just chain rotating this way. Like, yes, this is the strongest rotation, but it's sort of like Hanamura second. You can't just constantly push the strongest rotation because while this one is harder to block than the Hanamura strongest rotation, teams do start blocking it, and you're just gonna get chewed up. I would like to see us approach this a little differently. I'd also like us to potentially do a little more softening up from here. We don't have to rotate in yet. It is okay for us to put like a DM right up here type thing to be poking in while our team is doing a little more, hey, let's try to take statue with soft dives. We're not too worried about our soft dives getting punished because we have the better poke to cover it if our tanks get jumped, and we should be able to tank trade muscle our way in enough that you can't hard dive our backline even with your double bubble. I think you need to earn the space harder with your poke.
Have that nano boost a couple in with it, but look at the juggling. Oh my god, he is a circus freak. He manages to find his Ayaki, follows up for Lee J.
Overjump. You could have beat him. But you're going to let Shy do it. Okay. Okay. So now you've swapped over to the Diva, which will make rotating easier. You could have won with your old comp. You could have. You just needed to change how you were thinking about your win condition.
For just a fraction of a second, but it's long enough. He just beams him down. Shy is incredible.
I hope no one's underestimating Chinese players right now, because Shy and Goose are up there. Primal Blade on Goose Ray, love to see it. I mean, everyone talks about the fearless Winston. Goose Ray's here to just remind everybody, just for a moment, that Goose Ray Winston still exists. Who created the original Primal Blade? Of course, it's Goose Ray, don't forget.
Ults stacking up.
Okay. You're going to try to force this with Bob. You've earned a little space this time. Okay. This should go better. Yeah.
It's absolutely mauled by the bomb. Just disappears in just a moment there. Still, nano boost on the Goose Ray to try to keep him alive. They'll buy some space to the side of the Shanghai Dragons. Putting up the point while Void takes a little bit of a nap, but he's still going to be capping it. So one tick going to be handed over.
Why no Ryan on King's Row? The Eastern teams really seem to prefer playing more double bubble or poke dive type comps. Seems to be the answer there. That seems to be the answer in Nordstorm. This isn't the first time where we've been reviewing Eastern teams that they've gone full like this. And by Eastern teams, sometimes I mean the OWL region they're playing in, but mostly I mean what are their players primarily doing. So that's a bit of a split we've seen. What's stronger? It's up in the air. It's hardly the first time we've seen it. I mean, if you go all the way back to the Apex days, you will see that one of the Apex seasons, Lunatic High had the highest Kings Row win percent of anyone in the tournament, but they played dive on it. Like, even when other teams would play Reinhardt on it, they would play dive on it. Now, that is a long, long time ago in the history of Overwatch, and players have gotten a lot, lot better, but I'm just pointing out it's not unheard of. There is some precedent to this. Aren't the American teams mostly Korean? Yes, blah, but if you're running a Western main tank player, for example, you might go, oh, hey, they like their Reinhardt, things like that. Also, you saw some of the European players were faster to pick up the brawl, the goats, etc. Back when that happened, more than a year ago at this point, faster than Korea did. Korea did eventually pick it up, and it was the strongest thing in the world at the time, but they were a little slower to buy in that it was the thing. And North America was also slower, by the way, to buy in that goats was the thing when goats came around. Europe was the first to buy in on it, and they were right. But Korea did not immediately buy in on the goats thing. Yeah. China never bought in on the goats. Well, China basically never bought in on the goats thing, I should point out. Chinese contenders really was like, nope, we will continue to find wacky other things to play. And they weren't like a top 2 region, but they weren't a weak region. This was when there was like 7 contenders regions, and they were probably middle of the pack. So like meh. So it's some of this is like what are the players most comfortable at the best at, etc. And when you get to, hey, we have strong Rhine players, we have strong Zarya players, we have strong Diva players, versus we have strong Ball players, we have strong Winston players, we have strong Anna players, that can have some shift on your success in your scrim bubbles. And it can also be a case of they scrim bubble differently, the 2 regions. They scrim bubbled because they're not totally things. They like overlap slightly. They overlap maybe more than slightly, like in terms of how these teams. And then there's maybe between these, I should have drawn these closer because there's still some overlap. But coming into the L season, there was some amount of, hey, West is scrimming with West, East is scrimming with West, based on where your servers are actually located, because you don't want a bajillion latency during your practice times, and that causes a little bit of bubble because you don't always see perfectly what the other teams are doing, or if you try what the other region is doing, they've had more time to do it, so it's not working for you versus what you're doing has been working for you. Until someone sort of definitively proves no, ours is best, it can take a little bit for everyone to get on board. I think I just answered that, blah, where some of that is they were scrimming in different regions. Like if one of the teams you're scrimming against before, this timeline doesn't quite work, but if one of the teams that you're scrimming against to get practice as an L team right out the gate before the L season starts is, hey, well, the other L teams aren't any good yet, so let's scrim against the best contenders teams. Well, that can be things like that can be, if you're in the West or if you're on American servers, that can be teams like Revival. And Revival is a Brawl specialist team. And if they're beating you pretty hard with Brawl, you go, okay, let's try to run Brawl, etc. Now, that timeline doesn't work perfectly, but that type of thing. Whereas if, oh, hey, we're losing to, we're playing against a Chinese contenders team, and the Chinese contenders teams are pretty polished on this, or the Korean contenders teams are pretty polished on this, let's try playing this. And then if you bump into each other, or if you have the other AL teams are doing this, maybe that forces you over to the thing, but there's some amount of isolation that happens just because between time zones and latencies that you have to deal with for who you're using as your practice partners. Wasn't Goats initially thought to just be a contender stomper comp? Yeah, Goats was initially the team Goats. Literally was a team of the team Goats was a team with some players, maybe all players. No, some of the players came from console. They came over here. They were in it wasn't even a contenders tournament. It was a tier 2 tournament, but it wasn't like Blizzard's official contenders. I think it was a beat invitational. It might have been another tournament. But anyways, there were 2 tournaments that would now be similar to the monthly contenders tournaments that invited some tier 2 teams and some strong tier 3 teams. And Goats was in it. They were a pretty new team to the scene at the time in terms of having any name recognition. They were going through, they got knocked down to the lower bracket, and then they did basically a perfect run back through the lower bracket, including beating the top team at the time. And that wasn't too big a splash because the true top team in North American contenders hadn't been in that tournament, but the top team was in the next contenders tournament a month later, and Goats ran the same comp and ran them over too. And that at the time was Fusion University, and Fusion University was a good team. Like, no question. that Fusion University at that time was a good team, could compete with OWL teams just fine, was not out of its depth if it was competing against other region, if it was competing against contenders Korean teams, and I mean the top contenders Korean teams at the time. Like there was no doubt that Fusion University was a good team, and this team of a bunch of people that mostly never been heard of, hadn't been on successful teams before, threw together this comp, did their run, the next month through a similar tournament, and that that obviously was like, oh, we have to pay attention to this. That's how Goats came about. I'm going to start a company that takes the straight line path through the earth with fiber, thus getting the lowest possible latency and eliminating these bubbles. There's still time zones and scrim times to think about. Didn't know there was a comp called Goats that came up with it until 6 months ago. Yep. I think who was on that team? Tensa was on that team. I think Gator was on that team. I think Sit or Frill was on that team. Kaluge, Cucumber, Boogers and Snot. He has had so many renames. Was on that team. Yeah. Okay. There we go.
Rushing back, nearly is ready for the rejoin. Rally's almost available for him. Grab online for Bernard could be a big swing in the fight for the Spark to try to retake this point. Potentially pull off a hold. Shy opens it up again. He finds Flood with a shot. He just continues to find.
Shy, can you just stop winning fights? Just like, okay, cool. He's not doing it by himself, but it is he is having a good day, clearly. Or maybe he's always this good. I might just, I don't think I've seriously looked at Shy since like World Cup a couple years ago. So
have to wait for the respawn. It's now 50 seconds remaining for the side of the Shanghai Dragons. They very well might get full held here.
It's looking that way. Shy is playing like a man possessed. He's holding. Well, he actually knows that Fate is behind. There it is. The damage confirmed. Fate's looking for an opportunity to primal in the backline or something. They're gonna need a lot here. Grab is available. Please, Izayaki, just use a trance to save your team from the grab for once. Assuming the grab.
Okay.
Will get one back.
So I'm okay with this. I'd like to see the flanks take a little more space, and this not just be DM pop forcing it quite so hard, but that's okay. They have their angles, they're just not actually pushing in off of them yet. Okay. You're not gonna go fight him. He's plenty gone.
Does get knocked out of the mech here on the back end as IDK pursues forward, but has overstepped just a little bit. Pilot Diva has managed to finish him off. Nano rolling onto Gooch right here. Comes the primal Shy. Damn it, Legion God both gonna be caught. The dynamite ticks away on him, and he will follow up. Gets rid of Void. Izayaki sucked inside the statue in the cubby. They are just absolutely rolling them. Shy's Bob.
Okay, so we're seeing some good play from Spark now in terms of mechanics, but Shanghai are playing worse. Shanghai are literally playing worse than they did last map, and what we mean by that is they were not doing what they needed to do. Like they constantly went for that rotation over in that direction, and that's a fine rotation, but if that's not working, there's more you can do, especially if your comp outpokes them, which for most of the match it did, to go, hey, we're going to set our Ash up back here. We're going to use our boosted Ash in Zen to cover our tanks taking this space by statue. And if you force it too hard, no, we have the better poke. We will force you to leave. You cannot get your tank directly onto this. You can't get your divers directly onto this because we're getting control of this room up here and this down here with our tanks. And then we are the regular way pushing through and getting control of this. And once we have control of this, we think about, okay, can we get control of this with our tracer? Oh, we can't get control of this with our tracer? Okay, well, we can still get control of this and this, and if we can get control of this and this, because again we have the better poke, we can potentially use that to then go, okay, now we can potentially rotate our backline to the high ground back there, or we can just decide, no, this is good enough, we'll play it from here, we'll try to make the fight happen here. If the fight won't happen here, that's fine, we rotate up and we go not all the way back on the high ground, but on the mini high ground over here, or we rotate up to here and do it. This could have been approached better than it was by Shanghai Dragons. And I also am disappointed that Shanghai Dragons to start this map on defense, let themselves get wiped by the Nano Gushue, because that's what happened to start this whole snowball. Like, Nano Gushue, without any meaningful support other than the Zarya bubble and the Nano, just walked through a bunch of them and cleaved them with Nano. And don't get me wrong, a bubbled Nano Zarya Winston is hard to stop, but, has a shotgun that knocks the Winston back. At the time, we also had another hero. We had a Sigma who had a rock that can knock the Winston back. And it was not before the bubble's over, the other bubble's up, or the instant the bubble's over, the next bubble was up. Joshua just walked at them and didn't get stunned, didn't get knocked back. I also didn't like that Li Jiegong was on the Mercy when I think he should have been on the Briggs defensively, because it was so obvious what these guys were going to run. And the Briggs would have been a stun and a knockback, which also could have slowed this down significantly. This should not be that scary of a threat, even if it's got the support from this and this. It should not be actually consistently like, oh, I can not just threaten, but regularly get a limbs with just the bubble and the Nano. Does need help, does need some level of help. And if is getting a limbs that consistently without it, you guys are micro playing it wrong. Okay. And if you don't microplay it wrong, Spark's whole strategy of we're going to just let Gushue tank damage without really getting value outside of tanking damage, without, doing soft dives to get us backline rotations, without charging our Zarya better than he is, this whole C-level strategy that they're opening games with falls apart. B- level strategy.
Shy's Bob finishes off Fate, and that is going to be it.
They did build the first Nano stupid fast, I agree. But they're doing it by literally just having their Winston stand out there, take damage, stand out there, take damage, stand out there, take damage. Go take damage, go back, go take damage, go back, go take damage, go back. And that doesn't particularly bother me. Yes, it means you'll get Nano before the dragons have an answering ult, because all of the dragons are hurting Spark, or are hurting Gushue, and all of that damage is getting healed by one person. So it's one ult charge versus the ults being distributed, and now they get charged. And you should be aware of that if you're dragons, but that one ult, even though the first ult on the board is generally the most powerful ult because there's no ults to answer, even though that's true, you still have cooldowns to answer. He still should not be able to 1v6 you or 3v6 you, but not really. Okay. Okay, so this happened. Remember, if you guys are enjoying the content, please do like and subscribe. I really do appreciate that. It helps a bit. If you are looking to get coaching yourself, you can join my Discord in the description below, see what rates look like, all that good stuff. Let's move on to the next map here, because there's more.
How do you shut down Shy here? Because he's clear stage. Hangzhou need to not.
Yeah, shutting down Shy would do a lot to help the dragons out. Ooh, Spark are going to show us something different. I like it. Dragons are going over to Brawl, which is fine with me.
Maybe going back to that could be the right option for them.
Fate's Reinhardt, at least when I've paid attention to it, probably like a year plus ago, was solid. I'd say it was better on the dive heroes, but was not a liability in any way on the Reinhardt. Going for the gas station close hold. Okay, so usually what ends up happening is the other team, the attacking team, gets forced onto Brawl themselves or to use silly Bastion type stuff. And what will end up happening is most of the Brawl comp will come out of here, while the McCree will try to poke here. The D.Va will check the McCree that pokes here. This team will mostly get, hey, lose because their McCree is not contributing. It's being checked by the D.Va. They'll have to go back in. Same thing will happen, maybe once or twice more, and then the D.Va will guess wrong for, wait, is the McCree still here? In terms of, oh, the McCree isn't here, but our D.Va's set up over here, and now there's a 6v5 over here, and the D.Va's late, and the McCree's able to do a flash play on their Rhine and win. Or we run into a case of the McCree gets sick of the D.Va checking him, so the McCree gets his own D.Va, and it becomes we're taking a 4v6. Ha, not really, we're not actually taking it, but our McCree D.Va just forced your D.Va out. And now that your D.Va's running, our 4 push out type thing. Usually that's how this would work, but that would require Spark to play the standard way, which I don't think they're going to. Has anyone ever tried a Sim TP to get out of spawn here? Probably in scrims.
Nope, not going to be getting any shots through there. But let me just bust out my classic Genji.
Architect Genji works for me. It's been a while since I've seen it. Okay. What a comp. What a comp out of Spark. Orisa, Sigma, Hangzhou, Genji. So this is like a full poke comp, but we brought a Genji. Okay. That probably makes sense, though. I mean, they use the Genji's mobility in some ways to draw some attention over here to pull Spark to pull the dragons a little bit, and now their strong poke comp gets to go up. Our strong poke comp, poke beats brawl. If brawl can't immediately engage on us, gets to do work on the comp that got pulled out by the Genji. Okay. You say it's a ranked comp, Nardstorm, and yet I just explained how they could get value out of it. Or maybe not.
So far, it's a solid start to the defense from the side of Shanghai. As they so desperate.
Slow though. Shanghai need to get a stop fight started. I mean, Fate nearly died. If Fate dies, this entire defense is gone for Shanghai. They need to aggress on one of these two sides. If you look at what Hangzhou are doing, they're trying to split this fight up into two sides across both spawn boards. So playing the off angles.
Okay. Architect's not really charging Blade fast enough to be a threat on that. The dragon didn't really do anything. But Iyazaki just went down. So that's it. Okay, spawn hold's going to be over. Unless you get a ton of late staggers. Okay. So now you have no heals because Lee is leaving to ferry. Right. Right. Okay. But you guys don't have any rotational power. Because you didn't like bring a Lucio or anything. You're just pure poke except that Genji. And I don't think having that blade is any sort of real win condition here. Mm-hmm. That wasn't a great flux. Okay. I think these sightlines are too short for you, Spark. I don't think you can win this. Well, if they push out, you can. Cancelled by the rock, nice. And there's the blade. Eh. Okay, 2 minutes off the clock though, and they'll get another fight. Super Shimada Bros melee. Ah.
That was excellently played by Hangzhou. You see what they do again. They're trying to walk out from two entrances of which Shanghai can only cover one.
I mean, it's a little weird. It's a little weird to be running the Genji with this comp. If you'd run a Tracer with this comp, I probably wouldn't blink. But the Genji?
And eventually start flanking as well. Void has to try and respond to you. And this next fight, Supercharger has been played. Later, I think the Dragon
probably wouldn't blink at a Sombra either. But like your Genji isn't as mobile as the Tracer would be. Doesn't have as much neutral damage as the Tracer would. Gets a better ult, but you don't have the combo power unless you're comboing Bongo and Blade. Like you don't have the nano. I know Architect is more comfortable on Genji, but it's weird.
Yes, but it needs to be quite aggressive. Window straight away, and now the Blizzard needs to follow suit.
Right off the gate there, window goes up. We managed to get rid of the Supercharger. Fate looking for that pin, takes a bit of damage in transit. DJ gone, falling low. Self-destruct to try to open things up, Void. Letting that fly up over the top.
Okay. Why is that so powerful right now? Okay. Dragon Strike is coming through. They've been fighting for a bit. It's just that it's late in the fight. Okay. It's just that it's late in the fight and they're in the open. So good judgment from Void.
Transcendence does get popped from MCD, keeps himself alive, but unfortunately can't do much to Architect nor Bernard. They do get sent back now to the spawn doors as Legion looks to boop everybody out of the immortality.
Good job.
They will get the recontest here on the card. Shanghai Dragons looking to pull off a full hold like they suffered on King's Row.
Dicey situation there for Shanghai Dragons because you see them go from post to post on the right side. They have to start shifting over towards the left. IDK's down. They survive versus the Flux. The Dragon doesn't even. Dicey situation for Shanghai Dragons because you see them go from post to post on the right side. They have to start shifting over towards the left. IDK's down. They survive versus.
Okay, survive the flux. DM is able to get the elim there. They've effectively got to wait for IDK, and they wasted window. They have nothing ult-wise to push with. Their closest ult is Blade, which I don't think is amazing.
Because Shanghai can just ignore it. They just walk backwards. They say, we don't have to play into it. And now taking the high ground as well. They have so much to play with. You should see the window almost instantly. There it is.
Right.
Where's the angle, though?
That window is... no. That is not a good window. Izuyaki, great Zen man. Not loving your BAP. Your BAP has been only okay.
Yeah, they do not see the cart there, which is still continuing to inch forward. Nobody is contesting it at the moment. It's getting a couple meters away.
Ooh, almost. Again, not Tracer. Okay, that lamp is out there. You're going to use the fact that the lamp is out there to take your Mega. They might have windowed without looking Semitic. It was pretty rough.
The barrier has been used. Architect looking to draw this out. The back end of Fleta domes him. Gets the icicle through up the back of the right.
Fleta?
This next Transcendence online.
You're here. You have the blade. You're not popping the blade. You're still not popping the blade. You could break this mech if you wanted. No, you get domed as Fleta domes more. So we just didn't really get to see what was happening because we were too busy watching the Genji and the D.Va chase each other around. Okay.
Gets the icicle through up the back of the right click to finish off Architect, and that should be it. IDK sitting up top,
okay.
For some healing. Kinda gets dropped in. I think it found too much with the bomb.
But, I mean, if Fleta got that many eliminations, it's not because he sniped them all. Though he sniped the one on Fleta, it's because his team had closed on the poke team as a brawl team, effectively, and the poke team didn't get enough damage done beforehand. Yeah, I mean, okay. Now, Spark could still do better because Spark's comp is going to be much better, or the comp similar to Spark's comp is going to be much better on defense than it was on offense. That said, I don't like that Spark didn't have the flexibility. I don't like that Spark didn't have a better comp to run on offense.
He's sniping now on the May, and we're moving towards a situation where Shanghai are kind of rediscovering the strengths a little bit. Brawl's working out well for them, and for Hangzhou Spark, no double.
Good here, especially, but we've got getting that headshot to shut down Architect.
Same comp. And same comp. Okay.
Not as bad as losing your shatter from an accretion, I would say.
Oh, except the dragons are deciding to match. They're saying, nope, we're going to play poke ourselves. And kept their May. Have they really kept their May? Is that just for your ice wall to try and catch someone, or are you going to use your ice wall to up with rotations against this comp? What are you up to, Fleta?
Shield versus double shield now, so no early spawn hole coming through from Hangzhou Spark, sniper versus sniper, DM versus Shy on the Hanzo.
Well, now, Spark.
Poke with May is weird. But, like, poke with May is weird. On the other hand, poke with Genji is a little weird too, so. It's common these days to not run a 100% something comp. Like, this is a poke hero, 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 and this is a poke hero. So it's common to be like, hey, we're going to run something that isn't a poke hero. More common would be we're going to make this an Ash, and we're going to make this a Brig. So, like, these would all be poke heroes, and this would be to cover our weakness because Brig helps protect against dive, and the 5 poke heroes we have are weak to dive. That's pretty common these days. Or if we look at standard Brawl, where we go Rhine, Diva, McCree, Mei, Lucio, Bap, well, this is a Brawl hero. The Mei is a Brawl hero. The Lucio is a Brawl hero. Really, the Bap is a Brawl poke hybrid hero. The McCree is a poke Brawl hybrid hero, and the Diva is whatever. But like, we didn't go all in on Brawl. We brought enough poke to the table to not just lose to poke comps, to not just be like, oh well, you can run our counter and we lose type thing. So it's not rare to do one thing, and they've both done that. They've both gone full poke comp with a Brawl hero, full poke comp with a dive hero. I mean, I guess in that sense, the Mei is probably better because, like, the Mei counters the Genji, but, like, yeah. Uh,
See if they can pull it off. I mean, hey,
but I'm not really worried about a single dive hero running them over if they run 6 poke heroes, to be honest.
we saw Outlaws
Especially if that dive hero is Genji rather than Tracer.
the shock, so why the hell not right here, right now for Spark versus
Is there any other character that says whatever is Diva? Lucio for a long time in Overwatch's history. Lucio and Diva used to be the 2 heroes that just never went out of style. Lucio eventually went out of style, and Diva later went out of style when Sigma showed up on the scene. In terms of use, just whatever, play it all the time, full time. These people don't have to swap heroes, all that. Tracer would be the next person in that line, I suppose.
the Dragons. Same map as well.
Like, we can say Tracer's a dive hero. Okay. Sure. Tracer's a dive hero that has remarkably high sustained damage.
Ivana for the steal to close that out. Still just going to be sniping. Hanzo. Oh, this is a good wall. Jump comes Dragons. Same map as so why the hell not right?
Which I would argue against these comps that don't have. It's tough. Probably Blizzard is better than Blade against these comps that don't have Lucios, but these comps should spread out some, and Blizzard isn't going to get very many of them. But one is enough. But you could say the same about the Dragon. Okay. Playing poke into each other. Wall for the Fleta. Lamps come out. Okay. Spark did the job. Excuse me, Shanghai did the job.
It seems like this should be it. Seems like we should have a 5th and final map getting ready to come up, as this is just clinical from the side of the Shanghai Dragons. Looking to bounce back after that upset, surprising loss on Kings Road. They want to take us into a 5th and final.
And there's no ultimates. I mean, Shy has nearly got a Dragon Strike. Usually you've been looking towards the window, but IKK's dead.
Okay, but do you have any ults to engage with on either side? No, which means it's going to be about map position, which Shanghai Dragons should have in spades. Should, kind of do, should have in greater spades. Not in love with this. Lee. Oop. That, shoot. Too far. Okay.
Guess to do a 5th and final.
Okay.
But there's no ultimates. I mean, Shy has nearly got a Dragon Strike. Usually you've been looking towards the window, but
Yeah, I understand what you're saying there. What you're playing into matters a little bit, but yeah. Blizzard, I would consider the better ult by itself.
Get one pretty soon.
Okay, so what I was saying is I would have expected Shanghai to take a little better positioning up here before I bumped a button on my mouse that jumped us all around. Like with, hey, we can have someone up over here. We can have someone up over, on the thing over there. And the person I would expect would be Lee. Go up there, Lee. Okay, I'm done.
We're nearly onto a Blizzard as well. This is the final fight territory, and Gushway's dead to DM.
You can still be frozen. Yeah.
He can get that dragon online.
Yeah.
Kill in on
Okay.
FCD finds the but they need so much more than that, but he will fall, and this should just be it, and it is.
So the Spark are a one-dimensional team. I mean, not being able to play the brawl certainly hurt them here, but even on the poke mirror, they got decimated pretty hard. Spark are like, if we can play double bubble, we can go off with our mechanics, because Gushway, once he's in, has really nice Winston mechanics, and we're playing a stupid way in my opinion, but once he's in, he'll just win with his nano monkey, and Shy is just going to go off and pop off a lot of the time. And our Brig player, IDK, is going to have some mistakes that can be costly, but is also going to have some pretty nice play when he's not making mistakes, so sure, works for me. And their Tracer's going to be pretty nice too. Okay.
I gotta say, Kilios, and why it's
I understand it.
your response is
But you're one-dimensional in the comps that you can run, and the comp that you can run is harder to one-trick. Like the double bubble regions have accepted that they can't one-trick double bubble by and large. The top teams are not trying to force double bubble. Some brawl teams are trying to force brawl everywhere. It's rare you see double bubble teams trying to force double bubble everywhere. Or if they are, they know it's a weakness. It's a weakness for the brawl teams that are one-tricking it too, but it seems to be less of one. Which is probably a sign that Brawl is actually the dominant meta, but if you've trained hard enough in something else, it can be hard to let go.
That's one thing that Hangzhou can be thankful for. The Ashe is available. It's not
and the patches come through that nerfed Reinhardt and BAP, so hey. Probably won't stay that way. They do different things. That was probably in reference to Blizzard and Blade. Could have been in reference to Double Bubble and Brawl, but was probably in reference to Blizzard and Blade. Okay, so we see our comps coming out here. And for our comps that are coming out here, we've got a poke dive comp from the Dragons versus a poke dive comp from the Spark. Okay, so the only difference here is Lip on Widow versus Shy on Ashe. Okay.
It is the Carpe special. Lip's going to be doing it here as well. He's going to be looking to outrange him and outdamage him if he can get those headshots through. I think he's been...
Blizzard, I think, is as good as Graviton Surge, Graviton Flux. So I want to address that, sort of. I'm actually going to disagree. Blizzard's a really powerful ult, but you have more things that you need out of the way for it to work. It has a wider area. I'm still probably going to favor Grav. And the reason I'm going to do that is really think of it as a two-step versus a one-step process. Grav. Okay, what do I need for my Grav to be successful? I need it to not get DM'd or equivalent. Yeah, and that's basically it. Like, I need it to not be DM'd or equivalent. Yeah, I'm on the same page. Cool. For Blizzard, I need it to not be DM'd or equivalent, and I need them not to have amp speed. Because if they have amp speed, it's just not going to get value. Either of them can potentially be answered by support ults, and yes, Blizzard affects a wider area than Grav does, but I tend not to care. I care, but I think the difference that this makes is a bigger deal. Yeah. Okay. Back to this.
Spotted yet as he continues in with his rotation, just looking to get a bit of a flank angle, but everybody is just kind of playing ring around the rosy at the moment.
They're just rotating for their spots.
Playing off opposite sides. Pushing back over now. Back from the Shanghai side of things. As Shai gets a little bit of a shot. Has to pull back with that coach gun. Onto Guchway.
Okay. Ring around the rosy. Shy finds the... Why am I not surprised Shy finds the first pick? Lip finds one back. Okay. And Lip finds Shy. Yep.
Limited damage options when it comes down to taking out Gushue, but he takes enough damage that the body shot will finish him off. And that's going to be a very fast flip now back into favor of the Shanghai Dragons. Only 15% netted for Hangzhou.
It's not a bad start for Hangzhou with the 15%, but Lip getting the kill to Shy.
Why are they playing Ring Around the Rosie? Because their backlines don't want to get chased down by Tracer Ball Discord combinations. Their backlines do. Well, that's not strictly true. Why? How do I want to answer? Why are they playing Ring Around the Rosie? How do I want to answer this? I mean, really what they'd like to do is you've got a couple things, right? Like you're going, hey, we are a team. We would like to rotate in such a way that we can use our. We would like to rotate in such a way that we can either get a dive from these characters or that we can use maybe these characters to perhaps bully somewhat. Well, you have the Brig. You can potentially bully a little bit, but you both have the Brig, so maybe not. And you're also going, hey, we would like to sort of get splits where we can get a sort of a spread on these characters. Maybe we put these two together, but we'd sort of like to have a spread between our poke areas, so we're rotating to separate them. But then we're using, anytime they get separated, like, hey, maybe we have our Widow. How do I put this? Maybe we have our Widow over here and our Sigma Zen over here, but the other team doesn't like that we have taken big angles like that, so they use their ball and their tracer to try and chase out this character. But also the balls and the tracer sort of mark each other, but also they mark that over there. So it creates this, like, they're constantly sort of rotating effect where it's like, hey, we're going to use our, like, they're running poke dive hybrids and they're using their dive heroes in some ways to shuffle away the solo poke heroes. In other ways, they're using their backlines to their heavier backlines to shuffle away dive heroes. Like it's yeah. I hear you, Levy, but I think you're going to find that people just don't get popsicled in Mailed unless May is also contributing to freezing them. So, okay.
Dragons, you ask the question of how do you deal with Shy? How do you shut this guy down in the Ash? And well, Shy's going to deliver. He gets the kills required. Flit is down again, but Lip gets the required.
Okay, we've got our Tracer and Ball taking a flank, contesting the other ball. They've taken the high ground side. They're trying to stop Fate. Does Fate know what he's doing? That would have been pretty good. Okay, so they were able to, on Spark's side, they've gone through to the high ground, but effectively we saw this got flipped as they were looking for Fate over there. Or maybe I've got that backwards. I think I do have that backwards. Surely that's not what happened, right? Surely. Okay, got it. So it was just that they took early Spark control and then it flipped. Sorry, I'm trying to track my teams. They're trying to get this.
As long as Lip can keep that momentum up, as long as Shanghai can keep that up as well, it will be good. We're looking towards Fate to try and rescue himself, which should be able to do.
Fate doesn't get chunked particularly hard there for how bad that could have been, but he did pop his adaptive, which means he's not going to be able to go in as hard.
Lip set up, looking for somebody to push their little head through the window. Shield IDK, block off any and all sight lines
Spark
from.
need to take some map control.
They're respecting the infrasight, but they're going to lose a lot of time off that. And that's an unfortunate thing for the side of Hangzhou Spark. See Burnout taking a lot of damage here as well. With the first kill coming on through at 6.
And Flood is ultimately able to take down Bernard there. The map control is too powerful.
Hasn't been able to make it happen yet. Recall going to be forced now from Architect. Still takes a smattering of damage on the back end of that one, but it's going to be MCD who actually finds a headshot onto Lip. Gets rid of that enemy Widowmaker, and obviously not going to be seeing any Mercy play right now, so there's no way to bring him back into the fight. Architect with a pulse bomb will eliminate Void. Izayaki dead as the bomb surges forward to the point. They'll get the cleanup, and that'll be the flip coming through right now, so there's no way to bring. Going to be forced now from Architect. Still takes a smattering of damage on the back end of that one, but it's going to be MCD who actually
Okay.
finds a head.
Why are you guys turtling on the point? If your Zen is on point, you've made a mistake.
Gets rid of that enemy Widowmaker, not
Yeah, the Spark have earned their off angles. They shouldn't have earned their off angles, but they did.
play right now, so there's no way to bring him back into the fight. With a pulse bomb will eliminate Void. Izayaki dead as the bomb surges forward onto the point. They'll get the cleanup, and that'll be the flip coming through. 73%, 72% there for the side of the Dragons as the flip comes in. But with this re-aggression that we're about to see from Shanghai Dragons, they have a ton of ults to use.
MCD into the frag here is quite thematic as well, considering, the last time we saw Hangzhou Spark played, they were up against NYXL. MCD popped off on that Zenyatta. It was a very good performance by MCD to really show his case for, being in the conversation to be another top flick support across all of Overwatch League. Currently doing a little bit more damage than Izayaki as well.
Okay. So you guys are rotating through here, but can you actually get a spread? Here's your 4-person back line. Where's your front line? Right here with you. I could do without that. Now you're going to start to split? Now you're going to start to split to take angles, to take map control? Okay. Ooh. Dicey. Okay. It's not quite as much map control as I'd have liked, but you're deciding that now you're going to make your play with your minefield. Gushui counter engages. Almost. There's the trans. It's not going to matter. Yeah. Okay.
It's just a bloodbath here on the point. Taking the lead right now are the Spark, but it seems like the Shanghai Dragons, for the most part, going to be winning out on the fight. They're starting to get this flip back into their favor. Just 82% on the board here for Spark, and they continue to contest. Without Gushui up, going to be proving to be a little bit difficult. Architect trying to play forward, does have to pull back in the end. Dancing around the drum. Final fight approach to try to get this pulse online. Yeah, final fight huge. Is going to be coming in. Good opening as Fleta assassinates Shy off screen. Pulse bomb now online from Architect. It's going to absolutely have to be massive. He's pushing up onto Void. Hasn't been able to find this tick yet. Not going to be going for it. Playing this one out patiently, but MCD going to get picked off. Bernard knocked out of the mech. The baby even now going to be finished off. They still have a minefield to try to buy a little bit of space, but Architect gets finished off.
Okay.
One last reset here for the
See, this is last fight. Let's see what sort of map control Shanghai Dragons can establish and what they do in terms of surrendering it. Like, you can't just hold your map control forever against these comps. They do a good job of forcing you to rotate away from them. That's why we see the ring around the rosy, but how much of it can you maintain as you rotate without leaving people that are just vulnerable to dives?
We talked how important that this sub-map is for the Hangzhou Spark. We're maybe expecting somewhat the Mecha base will go towards Shanghai, so you need to win the other two, including this one. Shai's been damaging, getting a lot of kills from the Fleta so far, and that's been really good for the 6v5s. Another 6v5 we get, trying to get trying to get Izayaki. Forced the trans. Izayaki dies. He forces the trans, but he gets a kill on the Architect before he even uses it. So the pulse bomb not going to be the fight now. Gushui going to be taken down. It's a huge amount of damage eliminated here from the side of the Spark. This Cold Orb out to Bernard. He takes a ton of damage.
Okay. That's not wild.
Finishes off the enemy Sigma. Shy drags one back and taking down Lee J gone. Rally still rolling for IDK as he tries to stay alive, but
it's not exactly a secret that pushing into poke is harder than being the poke team. They're both poke teams. Pushing into poke as poke is hard would be another way to put that. And that's going to be the end of that round. Okay. And I think that's probably right, because I think they are correct. Well, no. So the announcers are thinking that you can't play poke on this, that brawl is just overpowered, and they're wrong. You can play plenty powerful enough poke because the bridge is isolated enough and hard for brawl to access poke heroes on. Oh, but if Spark are going to, oh boy. Okay, it was nice knowing you, Spark. It was a good match. It was a good match. You only knew how to play one comp well enough, but it was a good match other than that. You had some real pop-off moments.
I mean, they haven't taken maps away from Shanghai for nearly 2 years. They pick up 2 here in this series, but they want the set along with it. Mortality field's gone from both sides. Architect taken down. Gushway going to be following suit as Flood Up follows up. PS duo.
I mean, I can comment on it, but I think we've already established the how and the why of... I expect Shanghai's Brawl to win most of these matchups.
The point's still going to be locked down, and now there's extra little staggers coming through as Bernard's going to have to try to make his way off the side of the map.
I think Izayaki you can get shift out of maybe a little too easily, and that's a weakness for Bernard +1 to take advantage of. But I think in general, well, that could work.
Maybe not, because the window comes down for Izayaki. They lose lip off the back. That's very fast. The response for the Hangzhou Spark. And now the 6v5. MCD's nearly onto the window himself. This could be a big turnover from the Hangzhou Spark. It's 20%, but you are going to need to see more ults have to come through for Shanghai if they lose more members.
Yeah, it's starting to fall apart, though.
Okay.
Enough just to try to exit there for Architect, but Bernard going to be knocked out of the mech just as quickly as he got back into it. And this is going to have to be a full reset here for the side of the Hangzhou Spark. They try to re-aggress. It looks good with that initial pick on the lip, but unfortunately, Gushwei goes down, and then the rest of it just starts to unravel. So, still going to be held here for the Shanghai Dragons, approaching 50%.
I mean, it looks good on top of the fact
Dragons have ults. They're at 50%. They can win this next fight with ults and then afford to drop point. Or they can win this next fight with less ults and still have even ults for the next fight. Okay. Fate, really 2 for 1 on those, or 2 and 1 on those.
Goes in for the pin, clips on the Shy, finishing them off. And Shanghai, yeah, they are hungry for the win. They say, you know what, Spark, you've had your fun, but it's time to
Report Baby Diva for throwing with the reset rather than the remech a limb. Yeah. Okay, there's still too many ults. Yeah. It's fine. You guys beat it into each other, but Li Zhang was able to have the later beat. Doesn't matter. Fate went down.
Dragons, though, they can just buy time. They have so much to work with. They're almost at 99%. We'll see if they can still turn this around. Which way with a pin goes in deep, finds Void. They finish him off. Getting rid of that baby.
I mean, Spark should be able to win this one. This team fight, not this round. Ooh. You had to invest yourself to start. Yeah, this is going back. This is a problem.
It's looking like maybe the Kangs, they have a few kills here. This can still be going the way Shanghai's massively. There's a lot of kills. Hangzhou members. They get pushed off the point for just a moment. They're not Bernard going to be everybody is dead, and it looked like surely the Spark should have been able to
okay.
Should have been able to gain some amount of percent.
So, I mean, I think our takeaways here. Well, let's see if I can get a thing, because the way that we've usually done this is. You're not going to give me. Okay. Not showing both of them, just showing that. Okay, that's less helpful. Okay, so I think we've seen some takeaways here. The Hangzhou Spark look very good when they can double bubble. I still give their engagement strategy a B-, maybe worse, for, hey, let's just charge up Nano before we do anything too consistently. But the reality is Gushwei does do a lot when he gets his nanos, and Shanghai did not have the answers to, oh, there's just a nano monkey coming at us, or a bubbled nano monkey coming at us. What do we do? They didn't have the answer. Boops and stuns are cool. Running Briggs is cool. Those are things. But as soon as you force them onto any map where they can't do that, they lose. The only maps that they won were maps that they could just double bubble their way through it. And they didn't really try to double bubble on other... They didn't try to really force double bubble on other maps and then get forced off of it. It was just a case of when they ran double bubble, they did pretty well. When they couldn't, they lose. And one of the maps that they won on was pure, raw, not pure, but very heavily raw pop-off, we'll say, from, hey, Shy, you just want to like put half the match on your back, 40% of the match on your back. So that happened. So this does look like the better team. This looks like, I don't know if this was a good day for them or not. I haven't done a tons of Spark analysis. I haven't watched a ton of Spark games, but Gushui does look good on the Winston once he's in, and I don't think it's his fault that he's taking a bunch of poke damage early. I think that is the strategy that they're choosing to execute. So that's a team thing that I just am not in love with. His mechanics look very good when he's on the Winston, and I'm not blaming him for not doing the soft dives that I'd like, which I was doing a bit of when we were on Volskaya, because I don't think that's his decision. I think that is a team decision of how they want to play it. So Gushui does look good on the Monkey. Shai looks excellent on the Ash, and Architect was getting the job done fine on the Tracer, and then IDK had pluses and minuses. IDK was like, I'm going to be good, I'm going to be bad. IDK was doing a bit of that. I would have liked to see, yeah, IDK had a little bit of both ways there. Over here, it's really a support line that I saw things for, where I'm looking at this and I'm going, your shift gets forced a little bit too easily. Support that gets forced a little too easily. And Lee, I would have liked to see. I think coming back on the Lucio in some situations, like he did when they were playing more divey comps, was fine and he got value out of it. But I would have liked to see more Brig picks and less Mercy picks out of him. I don't think that going, hey, I'm going to be Echo when the primary value that you are bringing is, or excuse me, I'm going to be Mercy when the primary value that you are bringing is Mercy, was enabling an Ash, was enough to be justifying it in a lot of these situations. That's how I look at that. That said, Shanghai Dragons looked like the more proficient team. They looked like the better team in some ways, whereas this looked like a collection of good players. Like, yes, they know how to play the comp, and yes, they clearly have some teamwork, some practice that they've put in together, but there's holes here to exploit. There's only one comp really in their bag of things that they're comfortable with. Not to say their other comps are awful, but they certainly weren't to the level of their double bubble. So this looks like a much less practiced team, even if some of the players look quite good. These guys looked like a better functioning team. They knew how to play more comps. Their brawl looked reasonably fine. They were probably quite happy on the poke dive comps most of the time. I don't know if I want to call them happy on the poke dive comps, because I'm really not happy about their poke dive onto King's Row there. That was not very good. Yeah, that wasn't very good. So I'm not going to say the poke dive looked happy, but they definitely had more comp flexibility. Their poke beat Hanzo's poke, or beat Sparks' poke. Their brawl certainly beat Sparks' brawl. Their poke dive didn't just get rolled except on King's Row by Double Bubble, is what I'd say there. Okay. I think that's going to do it. If you guys have questions, go ahead and throw them up in chat now. If you guys are enjoying the content, please do like and subscribe, as that helps me out quite a bit. Or if you are looking to get coaching yourself, you can leave the description. You can join my Discord in the description below, see rates, events, things like that. Or if you want to suggest a game for me to review with the actual replay viewer after that goes live for this weekend's game. So any of the games this weekend, replay viewer usually goes live for me to review stuff on Tuesday, so I'll take a look at that on Tuesday or Wednesday. If you have a game that you're interested in from this weekend that I haven't already reviewed, go ahead and leave that in the comments under the video. Let's take a look, catch up on chat, see if there's anything I'm missing. Report Baby Diva for throwing and not memeing. We talked about that. It's not Levy. I get it, but it's not. I think Al should require people to select whatever character the game randomly suggests they enter the game. Owl Mystery Heroes. Might be a more popular game mode. No more stale meta then, I guess. I suppose that's true. That said, competitive games generally don't like that much randomness. That's, one of the reasons why one of the things that has made Owl less random, the elevator fix, is something that competitive players quite like. Randomness is not generally something that truly competitive players like in their game, but it can make it more exciting. It can make it more varied for the viewers, and definitely for anything to be a successful sport, it does need viewership. So maybe that is the answer. Learn to play better. There you go. Okay, that's gonna do it. Thanks, guys. Temporal out. Yeah, sorry, I'll not guess I'm not out yet. They did have hero bands. I don't think anyone buys that they were random. Or maybe like they were a little too targeted in some cases. That was perhaps the beginning of the like targeted hero bands picked by Blizzard, if memory serves, has now led us to things where we look at patch notes and go, oh my god, these are so obviously meta targeting. They're not targeting like the powerful heroes or the weak heroes. They're so obviously targeting the heroes that, are the six that are played in the meta. And anyways, anyways, that's fine. That's fine. But they did it for a little bit, Semitic and Al, and they did it a little bit, I think, in comp even. I forget. I wasn't paying that much Overwatch attention when that was happening. That was my gap year, we'll say. Okay. Thanks, guys. Temporal